Chapter 282. What's there to be afraid of? I'll bring you in. As Chu Hen's words left his mouth, it caused everyone to be startled. However, after the initial shock, many of them had looks of disdain on their faces. One had to know that the resistance produced by the starry universe spying formation depended on the number of people. If it was just Chu Hen alone, it would not be too much of a problem for him to enter. However, with Yu Qinyu, Chu Hen would have to withstand the impact of two people's energy. The huge energy pressure formed was not as simple as 1 + 1. However, what shocked everyone even more was that Chu Hen turned to look at Bai Yue, who had a hesitant look on her face. "Senior sister Yue, you should come too." Wow! As soon as he said that, the entire crowd burst into disdain. Even the people from the Holy Star team looked at him with disdain. Was Chu Hen crazy? How could he be so arrogant? Even if it was Huang Fuliang, Yinak Cunning, and Qi Teng, they didn't dare to casually bring two people along. Yet, Chu Hen still had a calm expression. However, seeing the gentle look in Chu Hen's eyes, Bai Yue pondered for a moment, then nodded. Although it sounded ridiculous, Bai Yue knew that Chu Hen must have absolute confidence to do so. Yu Qinyu, on the other hand, was a little anxious. She patted his arm and said, "Do you want to die?" "I'm not going. You can bring senior sister Yue." "Hee, junior sister Qinyu, are you concerned about my Chu Hen?" Long Qingyang joked. "How could I?" Yu Qinyu blushed, and her voice became softer. "All right, it's getting late," Chu Hen said as he looked at the others around him. "Big brother, second sister, Meng Chong, senior brother Xiaoyan, you guys should be fine, right?" Meng Chong? These two words revealed a sense of familiarity and tenderness. Since when did Chu Hen become so familiar with Luo Mengchong? Luo Mengchong smiled faintly and nodded without hesitation. "I'm fine." Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang, and Xiao Yan also expressed that they were fine. "Let's go." Buzz! In the next moment, a surge of true core force swept out from Chu Hen's body. When the spectators saw this, they couldn't help but sneer. "Humph, you're only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, yet you dare to be so arrogant? Let's see how he deals with this later." 6th level of the core transformation realm. Many geniuses from the Saint Star team were secretly shocked. The other teams might not know, but the people from the Saint Star team knew. The growth of Chu Hen's cultivation was really fast. It seemed like the calamity he encountered in the desert valley previously was a blessing in disguise. However, with a cultivation at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, it was impossible for him to bring two people through the golden door. Buzz! Immediately, a ball of golden-red illusory flame was released from Chu Hen's body. The light of the illusory flame formed a light ball with a diameter of 2 meters, enveloping Yu Qinyu and Bai Yue within it. Shortly after, a pair of purple wings of light unfurled from Chu Hen's back. "Stand still!" Chu Hen shouted. Yu Qinyu and Bai Yue's expressions froze. Swoosh! A purple shadow flew out. Chu Hen directly brought the two people to the top of the 7 heaven-supporting stone pillars. When the three of them approached the golden door, a surging shockwave hit them like a tsunami. The dazzling golden light was like a torrent of water, emitting an extremely powerful aura. The vast and mighty power solidly collided with the ball of light formed by the layer of illusory flames around Chu Hen's body. In an instant, the illusory flame light ball was squeezed out of shape. When they saw this situation, the disdain on the faces of the people below became even thicker. "Humph, it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Overestimating yourself." Just when everyone was waiting to see Chu Hen embarrass himself, they saw a strange black light emit from Chu Hen's body once again. The dense black light was like the 9 underworld flames spreading out and covering the surface of the illusory flame light ball. With a whoosh, the space around the golden door trembled. In the next second, everyone's expression froze. They saw that Chu Hen and the other two were wrapped in the illusory flame. directly breaking through the defense of the golden door and entering the starry universe, spying array. The geniuses of the various dynasties were all dumbfounded. This was simply a slap in the face. Shang, Long Qingyang, Long Xuanchuang, and Xiaoyan followed closely behind, each using their own abilities to enter the golden door. Buzz! A dazzling golden light flashed in front of them. Chu Hen brought Yu Chenyu and Bai Yue to a stop. What greeted his eyes was an extremely peculiar spatial world. Everywhere he could see was a stretch of dazzling gold. The ground under their feet was firm and thick, and it was covered with strange ancient runes and secret scrolls. The strange runes were shining with a dazzling golden radiance. Extremely gorgeous, dense spirit fog gathered above his head, and the misty spirit fog obscured his vision, making it difficult for his eyes to detect a deeper level of vision. Buzz! After that, Long Qingyang, Luo Mingshan, and the other two also came to Chu Hen's side. Where are the people who came before us? Yu Chenyu looked around and asked in confusion. They're here, but we can't see them, Luo Mingshan answered casually. Can't see them? Why? This is caused by the power of the starry universe, spying array. Later, we will enter different layers of the array space, and we won't be able to see each other. Luo Mingshan's explanation was rather vague. Even Chu Hen only understood half of it, so he asked, Is there any difference between the different layers of the array space? There's not much of a difference, and I'm not too sure about the specifics. After so many years, no one has been able to truly understand this array. Chu Hen let out a soft sigh of relief, and he could not help but look solemn. Speaking of which, the starry universe spying array was the only well-preserved ruin of the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom. The Seven Souls' ancient kingdom had perished for nearly 300 years, and the 6 great dynasties had not been able to truly understand its secrets. After all, the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom had spent decades building this array back then, and it could be said to be a huge project. No matter what, let's all focus on safety, Chu Hen said. However, as soon as he looked up, Chu Hen was stunned, because he realized that the people in front of him had disappeared, and he was the only one left in the entire space. They had just finished talking, and it had already begun? Mingshan? Big brother? Chu Hen tried calling out softly, but did not get any response. The golden world in front of him suddenly became extremely mysterious and unfamiliar. Chapter 283. Inside the vast starry universe, spying formation, there was a mysterious aura everywhere. Chu Hen was walking aimlessly in this golden world, but he was walking unconsciously. It was as if there was a mysterious, invisible force driving him forward. This is really strange. What kind of secret does this formation contain? As time continued to pass, Chu Hen's heart became more and more curious. Slowly, Chu Hen's state of mind also gradually calmed down. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, the space in the area in front of Chu Hen suddenly fluctuated. The dense, golden spiritual fog that had gathered in front of him slowly dispersed to the sides. Then, a majestic and vigorous aura flew toward him. This is... Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly, and he could not help but be shocked. What came into view was a gigantic tree that towered into the sky. It was a huge tree that was more than 1,000 meters tall. Its branches were luxuriant, and its huge crown covered the sky. It was emitting a vigorous aura of life. On the tree trunk, there were many strange runes and secret scrolls. Every leaf was also shining with silver light. Street tree? Chu Hen was slightly stunned, feeling the vigorous Reiki energy that was emitted from the towering tree. It was clearly a street tree. Chu Hen was shocked. A street tree that was more than 1,000 meters tall was almost 10 times the size of his street tree. What kind of realm did a rune-caster street tree have to reach such a huge level? A mysterious, invisible force attracted Chu Hen to continue walking forward. The closer he got to the street tree, the more active the Reiki energy in his Naiwen palace became. When Chu Hen stood under the street tree, He already felt like a mayfly trying to shake a tree. Soon after, Chu Hen could not help but raise his left hand and gently touch the tree trunk. Buzz! The moment he touched the tree trunk, a mysterious force entered Chu Hen's body like an electric current and directly attacked his heart. Bang! Chu Hen's heart violently trembled, and his consciousness became blurry for a moment. In the next second, it was as if Chu Hen's consciousness was pulled by some strange power and entered a hazy and dusky space. In the center of this space, there was a 100-meter tall tree that was full of vitality, and it was endlessly emitting a thick spiritual force. Chu Hen could not be more familiar with this place. It was his Naiwen palace. However, what puzzled him was why the street tree outside wanted to bring him into his Naiwen palace. Then, under Chu Hen's astonished perception, the street tree shone brightly. The beautiful, gentle light flickered between the branches and leaves. On the tree trunk, the strange runes blossomed brightly, but at the same time there were even more runes that appeared rather dim and lusterless with a glance. Chu Hen could tell that those bright runes were runes that he could control as he pleased. As for those dim runes, they were runes that he had never used before, or perhaps he had not been able to successfully condense them. Looking at those runes, an inexplicable urge to condense those runes rose in Chu Hen's heart. Just as this thought crossed his mind, Chu Hen immediately controlled the Reiki energy and directed it towards one of the dim runes. However, when Chu Hen began to condense this rune, he discovered that it was extremely difficult. What's going on? Chu Hen was stunned. Previously, he was only a grade 1 intermediate rune master, but now he was already at the level of a high-level rune master. Naturally, he knew how difficult this rune was. It was only a simple high-level rune. With his level, he would definitely be able to complete it easily. With the confusion in his heart, Chu Hen spent half a cup of tea's time before he finished condensing the rune. Looking at the rune that was lit up on the body of the Dao tree, Chu Hen could not help but feel a bit confused. Could it be? An idea popped into Chu Hen's mind. Then he directed a trace of Reiki energy toward another rune that looked like a spider. The power contained in this rune was twice as powerful as the previous one, so the difficulty of condensing it was naturally twice as difficult. However, according to the standard of a high-level rune master, it could be easily completed under normal circumstances. However, as it turned out, Chu Hen spent close to a cup of tea's time to directly light it up this time. As expected, this was not an isolated situation. Soon after, Chu Hen thought to himself and withdrew his divine sense from his Naiwen palace. Phew! As he opened his eyes, Chu Hen returned to the outside world. He was still standing in front of the huge street tree that was thousands of meters tall. After thinking for a short while, a sharp light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. He released the Reiki energy and raised his palm slightly. Buzz! The airflow trembled slightly, and the rune that looked like a spider just now instantly formed between Chu Hen's fingers. Chu Hen was stunned again. The speed of the rune condensing this time was actually so fast. Under normal circumstances, with Chu Hen's ability, he would need about 2 to 3 hours to condense this rune. However, he had spent close to a cup of tea's time in his Naiwen palace. Now that he had come out, it only took him a moment. The difference between before and after was simply shocking. I understand now. After thinking about it carefully, Chu Hen suddenly understood. The huge street tree that was thousands of meters tall in front of him had the effect of increasing the speed of a rune caster's condensing rune. For example, if an 8-year-old child were to receive the same level of training as a 10-year-old child, it would be very difficult at the beginning. However, once he persevered, the 8-year-old child's physique and ability would be better than his peers in the future. It was the same principle. This strange street tree had greatly increased the difficulty of condensing rune for Chu Hen. When Chu Hen had successfully condensed the rune in his Naiwen palace, his speed would increase under normal circumstances. However, this street tree had greatly reduced the time of high-difficulty training. The more Chu Hen thought about it, the more excited he became. As everyone knew, when a rune caster fought against a wuxiu, their greatest weakness was their speed. Usually, because their speed was not fast enough, they would not be able to complete the arrangement of runes in time to create a powerful attack. As a result, they would be killed by a martial artist in an instant, therefore. To a rune caster, the speed of condensing runes was extremely important. Under normal circumstances, the best way to increase the speed of condensing runes was to practice for many years. As the saying went, practice makes perfect. However, this strange street tree was able to increase the speed of condensing runes in such a short period of time. How could this not surprise Chu Hen? Although he mainly focused on martial arts, if he could cultivate his rune caster to a certain level, he would be able to use both spiritual and martial arts. At that time, by using both spiritual and martial arts, true essence power and bright spirit power, it would definitely bring unexpected trouble to the opponent. This is really amazing. Chu Hen immediately calmed his excitement and placed his hand on the trunk of the street tree in front of him again. Buzz! Along with an extremely bizarre energy ripple, Chu Hen's consciousness was once again pulled. Just like before, it involuntarily entered his Naiwen palace. After understanding the whole story, Chu Hen was full of energy. Without hesitation, he controlled the Reiki energy to condense the dim runes. While the strange street tree gave Chu Hen a lot of difficulties and pressure, it was also training Chu Hen's ability. In the following period of time, he did not care about anything else and was completely immersed in the practice of condensing runes. Time passed very quickly. Chu Hen had already lost track of time and how long he had been there. The street tree in his Naiwen palace was already covered with dazzling runes. This was Chu Hen's achievement. At this moment, a ball of light suddenly appeared on the other side of his Naiwen palace. This ball of light was the shadow of a tree. The silhouette of the tree, which was crystal clear like glass, was shining softly. Immediately after, the silhouette of the tree continued to grow bigger and bigger. With a shocking aura, it directly exceeded 100 meters tall. If it were to swing its power, it would even surpass Chu Hen's street tree. This street tree was none other than Lei Yuan's street tree. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the next moment, countless black rays of light shot out from Chu Hen's street tree and entangled Lei Yuan's street tree. Then, they forcefully pulled the street tree over. A domineering black ray of light rose from Chu Hen's street tree. Subsequently, Lei Yuan's street tree was forcefully swallowed by Chu Hen's street tree. Rumble. Following which, the Naiwen palace surged into chaos. Chu Hen's street tree blossomed with an even more resplendent light. The huge tree began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. The luxuriant branches and leaves became even more vibrant. The chaotic body is actually so domineering, it can even swallow someone else's street tree. Chu Hen was both shocked and happy. At the same time, he still had some doubts. According to his current understanding, even a spirit-level tattooist did not have the ability to swallow someone else's street tree. It was relatively common for tattooists to destroy each other's street tree. However, forcefully snatching someone else's street tree was quite rare. As for directly swallowing someone else's street tree, that was even rarer. Chu Hen became more and more curious about the chaotic body. What kind of bloodline limit was this? He originally thought that its use was to strengthen his physical body. He did not expect it to have such a shocking power. And why did he have two different bloodlines, the sacred demonic pupil body and the chaotic body? This had always puzzled Chu Hen. Senior Li Wushang should know something, right? Forget it. One day, I will definitely be able to unveil the mysteries of the chaotic body. Chu Hen stopped thinking about it and began to merge and refine Lei Yuan's street tree. Chapter 284. The surging Reiki energy was constantly surging in Chu Hen's Naiwen palace. At this moment, Chu Hen had already entered a state where he had forgotten himself. While he was devouring Lei Yuan's Tao tree, Chu Hen was also constantly reviewing the formation of the runes. The further he went, the more skilled he became at the formation of the runes. As long as it was a high-level rune that he had grasped, he would be able to form it with ease. He did not feel the slightest bit of pressure after an unknown period of time. The turbulence in Chu Hen's Naiwen Palace gradually calmed down. Compared to before, the Naiwen Palace's area had expanded. Moreover, Chu Hen Street Tree had also grown to a length of more than 150 meters. The dazzling, mysterious runes were like silver electric arcs, especially dazzling. It's finally over. Chu Hen muttered to himself in satisfaction. Then he slowly opened his eyes. But what came into view was another scene. The 1,000-meter-tall, peculiar Dao tree that stood in front of them had already disappeared without a trace. What was even more peculiar was that the surrounding scenery had changed drastically. At this moment, Chu Hen was actually in a vast and boundless starry sky. The sky was filled with clear and bright stars, as if he could reach out and pluck them. What's going on? Chu Hen was puzzled. Could it be that he had unintentionally entered another level of space in the vast stars' spying array? After thinking about it for a short while, it seemed like that was indeed the case. The endless starry sky created an indescribable and peculiar state in Chu Hen's heart. Under the light of the billions of stars, Chu Hen was as small as a speck of dust, like a small boat in the vast ocean. Buzz! Suddenly, a strange energy fluctuation was caught by Chu Hen. Chu Hen calmly observed and found that it was a wisp of illusory soft light. This wisp of soft light was connected to the 9 heavens, but it was the energy emitted from a certain star. Could it be the power of the stars? Chu Hen immediately channeled the wisp of energy into his body. Once that wisp of soft light entered his body, it immediately blended into his limbs and bones. Chu Hen could clearly feel that the primordial qi in his body had become a little more joyful. The true inner force did not reject that wisp of energy, which meant that this energy was beneficial to him. Then, Chu Hen sat cross-legged under the endless starry sky. His state of mind gradually calmed down, and he used his heart to sense the slightest change in his surroundings. Buzz! Very soon, Chu Hen sensed another wisp of star energy, and he did not hesitate to grab it and draw it into his body. This wisp of star energy was clearly much stronger than the previous wisp. Chu Hen felt as if there was a faint electric current flowing through his meridians. There was a slight numbness, but he did not feel any discomfort. Soon after, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, fine silvery and gentle light rays sprinkled down from the bright stars. Thousands upon thousands of illusory and gentle light rays were like rivers converging into the ocean, and all of them surged towards Chu Hen's body. At that moment, Chu Hen seemed to bathe in the holy starlight. Endless star energy wormed into the surface of his skin, passing through his meridians and bones, and reaching his Yuan core. Buzz! Chu Hen felt warm all over, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. His Yuan core absorbed the energy and rapidly began to circulate. The absorbed star energy constantly flowed through Chu Hen's body, removing the impurities in his meridians and strengthening his body. Originally, Chu Hen's body was far tougher than an ordinary person's due to the chaotic body and the blazing sun method of body tempering. Now, it had once again improved upon the original foundation. Without any exaggeration, once Chu Hen left this place, he would probably be able to kill a Wu Xiu of the same level with a single punch. This starry spying formation really is wondrous. Chu Hen opened his eyes and looked at his glistening skin. His eyes were filled with amazement. Under normal circumstances, ordinary people would not be able to absorb the star energy at all. However, with the help of the starry spying formation, this matter could proceed smoothly. Boom! At this moment, an extremely strange and restless energy rippled from Chu Hen's left palm. Chu Hen was startled. He raised his left hand, only to see the 7 tiny stars suddenly flickering with a light that was sometimes bright and sometimes dark. What's going on? The stars that had been silent for the past few months. Why are they reacting now? Back in the celestial lake mountain range, thief Rat God gave the sacred star Heavenly Book that he stole from the imperial family to Chu Hen and ordered Chu Hen to copy the contents of the book. However, after Chu Hen opened the sacred star Heavenly Book, a dazzling golden light caused the 7 stars to appear on his palm. However, there was no other content in the book. The sacred star Heavenly Book was said to contain the sacred star dynasty's greatest secret. However, Chu Hen was not able to find out the secret. After returning from the celestial lake mountain range, the 7 stars had been hiding in Chu Hen's palm obediently, and nothing had happened. He did not expect there to be a reaction now. Could it be that the secret in the sacred star Heavenly Book is related to the starry spine formation? Buzz! Not waiting for Chu Hen to react from his confusion, the 7 stars in his palm directly shone with extraordinary splendor, and an extremely fierce and piercingly cold aura exploded out. Following that, the 7 stars flew out of Chu Hen's palm. Then they turned into 7 fist-sized white balls of light that revolved around Chu Hen's body. The 7 white balls of light revolved around Chu Hen's body like a lantern. In the next moment, the 7 white pillars of light soared into the sky. The enormous power was comparable to a white rainbow piercing the sun. It set off an earth-shattering power and rushed into the endless, vast, starry sky. Rumble! Immediately after, the space where Chu Hen was became extremely unstable. Heaven and earth trembled, and the space trembled. The numerous stars twinkled brightly. Swoosh! Under Chu Hen's gaze that was filled with astonishment, the 7 white light pillars followed the momentum and shot upwards. Just like an aurora flying across the universe, they directly flew into the starry sky of the 9 heavens. Just as the 7 pillars of light entered the sky, 7 abnormally bright and resplendent stars suddenly appeared among the stars in the sky. The 7 stars were like the rulers of the galaxy. They were arranged in the shape of a dipper. These were the Big Dipper that the 7 souls' ancient kingdom revered. Chu Hen did not have time to think. He did not have time to ponder this matter either. Buzz! In the next moment, 7 golden rays of light that gave off a sacred aura bloomed from the Big Dipper. They descended from the sky and directly entered Chu Hen's body. The light of the 7 stars entered his body. Plop! Chu Hen's body trembled violently. Even his heart trembled. An incomparably tremendous power surged into Chu Hen's body like a torrent that had broken through a dam. The might of this power could not be blocked at all. At the same time, a thunderous voice exploded in Chu Hen's mind. The Big Dipper controls the sky, and the 7 stars are separated by thousands of miles. Master the heavenly star transformation and the ultimate skill. 8 Desolation Breaker. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique? As he listened to these words, the blood in Chu Hen's body began to flow faster. Subsequently, a large amount of unfamiliar information surged into his mind. Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. This was a martial arts cultivation technique that contained 7 types of unique skills. The contents described within all caused Chu Hen's heart to be excited and endlessly, pleasantly surprised as he felt the abundant power of the stars in his body. Chu Hen came to a sudden realization. He finally understood the secret of the sacred star, Heavenly Book. It was this Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. So this was the secret of the Sacred Star Dynasty. The Sacred Star Heavenly Book was the key that could be used to open the power of the 7 stars hidden in the starry universe, spine formation. Then he would receive the power of the 7 stars to temper his body and peek into the shocking Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique. From the information that had entered his mind, he knew that if he wanted to cultivate the Big Dipper Heavenly Star Technique, he would have to temper his body with the power of the 7 stars. It was probably because of this reason that the imperial family treated it as a top secret and did not leak any information. The more Chu Hen thought about it, the more shocked he became. He did not expect that he would accidentally discover this secret of the imperial family. Chapter 285. Using the power of the sacred star, heavenly book, as the key to activate the power of the 7 stars in the starry sky spying formation. Receive the power of the 7 stars to refine his body and peek into the shocking Big Dipper heavenly star technique. The biggest secret of the royal family of the Sacred Star Dynasty was accidentally uncovered by Chu Hen. So this is the secret of the royal family. After thinking for a while, Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief. His bright eyes revealed a hint of solemnity. Back then, when the thief rat stole the holy book from the royal family, it was the princess-cum-regent, Huang Fuqing, who personally led many experts of the Dark Team to chase after him. At that time, it was really fortunate that Chu Hen was able to come back alive. According to the degree of secrecy of the royal family, this secret was most likely only known by the Sacred Star Dynasty. The other 5 dynasties most likely did not know about it. I really didn't expect such a lucky thing to happen to me. A knowing smile appeared at the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. This was really an unexpected surprise. He did not expect the starry sky spying formation to contain so many mysterious powers. No wonder the 6 dynasties had been fighting for hundreds of years. Just this formation alone would be enough to make countless people drool over it. Feeling the abundant power in his body, Chu Hen clenched his right hand into a fist, and his knuckles made a strong cracking sound. A shocking aura was released, and the air vibrated with heavy air waves. Chu Hen raised his head and looked at the starry sky that was densely filled with stars. The 7 brightest stars of the Big Dipper were the most dazzling. Every star seemed close at hand, as though he could touch them if he stretched out his hand. Huh! Chu Hen suddenly let out a sound of surprise. Just now, for some reason, the Dubhe star of the Big Dipper seemed to have flashed a faint gray luster. The luster was fleeting, but Chu Hen felt that he did not see wrongly. Immediately, Chu Hen's eyelids did not even blink as he firmly stared at the 7 bright and resplendent stars. However, after nearly half an hour had passed, Chu Hen's eyes were a little sore and his neck was stiff, but he still didn't find anything unusual. That was strange. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Chu Hen moved his sore neck a little as he muttered to himself. However, his eyes and hearing were clear just now, and he was full of energy. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have been seeing things. I've got it. Chu Hen's handsome eyebrows slightly raised as a faint smile appeared on his face. Then, with a thought, he shouted in a low voice, "Power of demon eyes!" Buzz! In an instant, a strange and powerful force was transmitted from Chu Hen's body, along with a faint burning sensation. His pitch-black eyes turned a demonic purple. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and his pair of demonic eyes emitted a faint purple light. His torch-like eyes once again explored the vast galaxy. The field of vision of the demon eyes was so wide that Chu Hen's vision changed rapidly. The vast galaxy in front of him appeared more clearly in Chu Hen's sight, and he could even clearly see the subtle power of the stars. Buzz! What's that? Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. What appeared in front of him this time was obviously different from before. The periphery of the Dubhe star was shrouded in a layer of gloomy gray fog. Compared with the other 6 stars, the luster emitted by the Dubhe star was obviously a little darker. This was the situation that Chu Hen detected with the demon eyes. In this case, it was not an illusion just now, nor was it an illusion. There was still some unknown secret hidden here. Chu Hen's heartbeat accelerated unconsciously. He narrowed his eyes and slightly calmed the restlessness in his heart. Then he continued to release the power of the demon eyes and began a deeper exploration of the Dubhe star. However, at this moment, the layer of gloomy gray fog that lingered around the Dubhe star became restless. In the next moment, a huge cloud of gray fog suddenly descended from the sky, directly pouncing towards Chu Hen. This? Chu Hen turned pale with fright. What situation was this? The gray fog spread extremely quickly, covering the sky and covering the earth. In an instant, it covered Chu Hen's vision. Rumble, the endless, thick gray fog was like an attack of thousands of troops and horses. However, at this moment, a beam of white light penetrated the gray fog. The beam of white light penetrated the gray fog and directly enveloped Chu Hen's body. Then, Chu Hen only felt an extremely strong traction force pulling him. Buzz! With a slight tremble, Chu Hen suddenly saw a dazzling white light flash in front of him. In the next moment, he directly arrived in another space. What is this place now? Chu Hen frowned slightly, his demonic eyes glowing with a faint purple light surging with a hint of solemnity. Looking around, this was like a strange palace. This palace was luxurious that Chu Hen had never seen before. The stone tiles on the ground, the palace pillars, and the walls were all made of sparkling and translucent glass crystal. Every inch of the area was filled with a luxurious and noble aura. After carefully inspecting his surroundings, Chu Hen's gaze shifted to the top of the palace. The first thing that came into view was a square stone platform. The stone platform was about 1 meter high, and it was also made of glass crystal. In each of the 4 corners of the stone platform, there was a golden dragon head sculpture with its mouth wide open. The dragon head sculpture was slightly bigger than an adult man's fist, but it was lifelike. A thin stream of white light flowed out from the dragon head sculpture's mouth, and the 4 white light rays were connected to the center. And in the center of the white light rays was a perfectly round golden spirit pearl. On the spirit pearl, there was a pattern of the Big Dipper carved on it. That is, when seeing this golden spirit pearl, Chu Hen's pupils suddenly shrank, and his heart also trembled violently. An inexplicable, throbbing feeling occupied his whole body. I really didn't expect you to be able to find this place. Suddenly, a low and old voice with surprise sounded in the hall without any warning. Chu Hen's expression changed, and he clenched his fists and shouted in a deep voice, "Who is it?" Buzz, buzz. As soon as the voice fell, the space in the area above the palace vaguely distorted, and wisps of white light appeared out of thin air and gathered together in a rotating form. In the blink of an eye, an illusory figure appeared in Chu Hen's sight. The appearance of this scene caused Chu Hen to raise his guard even more. Chapter 286. I am the Dubhe Star Spirit Envoy. The deep voice was filled with a hint of power and arrogance. It was an illusory old man with white hair and a white beard. His eyes were filled with wisdom. At the same time, there was a hint of surprise on his face that he could not hide. Dubhe Star Spirit Envoy? Chu Hen was surprised and doubtful. His eyebrows were filled with confusion. Humph, you really are just a kid. You haven't even heard of the 7 great star spirit envoys of our 7 souls, ancient kingdom. The old man said in a dissatisfied tone. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed as he asked tentatively, "The 7 great star spirit envoys, are they the 7 experts who guard the 7-star soul pearl?" Humph, at least you have some knowledge. You're not hopeless. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows. He had just said it casually. He had never heard of any star spirit envoys. He had only heard the name and thought it matched. Even so, the guard in Chu Hen's heart did not disappear at all. Humph, I really did not expect you to be able to find this place. The old man repeated what he said before. Looks like you are not an ordinary person. Chu Hen smiled slightly. Senior, you flatter me. However, my head is full of questions. The 7 souls' ancient kingdom has been destroyed for many years. How do you know? At the mention of the 7 souls' ancient kingdom's demise, the old man's face was filled with sorrow and desolation. He let out a long sigh and said with a hint of self-mockery, I have died long ago. What you see now is only a remnant of my soul. As expected, Chu Hen thought to himself. From the very beginning, Chu Hen had not been able to sense the slightest bit of life force from the other party. Presumably, the other party was only a remnant soul. However, the fact that a remnant soul could survive for 200 to 300 years was enough to show how strong the old man's cultivation was when he was alive. "Kid, do you want the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl?" The old man suddenly said, "Star Soul Pearl?" Chu Hen's heart trembled once more. His gaze instinctively swept towards the spiritual pearl with the picture of the 7 stars carved on it on the stone platform with the golden dragon head. Strands of soft golden light lingered around the spiritual bead. Even though there was a distance between them, Chu Hen could still clearly feel the powerful energy fluctuations that were being emitted from it. "Is that really the Dubhi Star Soul Pearl?" Chu Hen asked. Before the Heaven List competition of the 6 nations, Chu Hen learned from mentor Shilon that 5 of the 7 star soul pearls had been taken away by 5 extremely powerful forces. As for the Dubhi and Merak star soul pearls, they were lost. There were many rumors in the outside world, but none of them were based on facts. However, if the one in front of him was truly the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl, then what puzzled Chu Hen was, why was it still able to hide here? After all, the other 6 were lost. It didn't make sense for only one to be left. However, in the face of Chu Hen's doubt, the old man's tone was especially firm as he replied, "It's absolutely true." "Oh." Chu Hen's eyes lit up. "You're the only person who has discovered this secret in the past 200 years. There's no need for me to lie to you." The old man looked at Chu Hen meaningfully and continued. "Back then, the Illusory Rain sect, the Azura sect, the Heavenly Cloud Manor, the Immortal Pavilion, the Otherworldly Spirit sect. These bastards were ambitious. They brought people to destroy the great land of my 7 souls' kingdom and stole the supreme treasure of my dynasty. In the end, 5 of the 7 star soul pearls were taken away." The old man's tone was filled with hatred and anger. Even if it was just a remnant soul, it was still difficult for him to let go of the hatred of the destruction of his country. "In order to protect the dynasty's treasure, our 7 great star soul envoys all died in battle. Before I died, I used the blindfold art to hide the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl in this starry universe, spying array. With the help of the array, my remnant soul was able to survive until now. It's strange that my blindfold art can even fool those damn thieves, but you actually saw through it?" Leader of the thieves. This was naturally referring to the experts from the big sects who were fighting for the 7 star soul pearl. In the eyes of the Dubhi Astral Soul envoys, Chu Hen's cultivation was definitely not on the same level as those people. Even those people's eyes were fooled, not to mention Chu Hen. However, things were not like that. Chu Hen touched his nose and replied indifferently, "Maybe because it's been too long, the effect of your blindfold art has weakened." "Maybe." The old man did not dwell on this matter for too long and asked the question he had asked before. "Do you want this Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl?" "If I say I don't want it, that would be a lie," Chu Hen answered without hesitation. Although he did not know much about the Star Soul Pearl, the fact that these 7 star soul pearls brought the ancient kingdom of 7 souls from prosperity to ruin was enough to show how powerful this treasure was. Every star soul pearl was a sacred weapon. Just based on this, it was enough to make Chu Hen's heart beat faster. However, Chu Hen did not panic because of this. There was no such thing as a free meal in this world. Everyone knew this. Chu Hen looked at him and continued, "But what do you want me to do for you?" "Hee hee, you're quite smart, kid. Tell me if I can accept it. What I want you to do is very simple. Help me find the descendants of the 7 souls kingdom's royal family." Descendants of the 7 souls kingdom's royal family? Hearing this, Chu Hen could not help but be startled. There were still descendants of the 7 souls kingdom left in this world. Even if there were, the 7 souls kingdom had fallen for hundreds of years. Most of the surviving members of the royal family lived a life that did not see the light of day. Finding them was no different than finding a needle in a haystack. How about it? As long as you find the descendants of the Seven Souls Kingdom, this Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl will be yours. The old man looked at Chu Hen with a serious expression. He did not seem to be joking at all. Chu Hen, somewhat helplessly, shook his head. To tell the truth, the conditions you've given me are indeed very tempting. But for me to help you find the descendants of the Seven Spirits Empire in this vast sea of people without any clues, that's practically impossible. Even if the descendants of the royal family of your dynasty stood in front of me, they probably wouldn't admit their identity. All members of the Seven Souls Kingdom's royal family have the symbol of the 7 stars on their left wrist. You can use this as a clue. In fact, the reason why I'm still painstakingly staying here is because one day I hope to wait for the descendants of the royal family to return. But sigh, the old man sighed bitterly. Towards the person in front of him, Chu Hen more or less sympathized. However, in this situation, shouldn't he be thinking for himself? One of the legendary 7-star soul pearls, the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl, was right in front of him. If he did not agree to the other party's conditions, it was still unknown whether he could obtain the Star Soul Pearl or not. It was hard to say whether he could successfully leave this place. Chu Hen discovered the secret of this place. If the negotiation did not go well, it was hard to guarantee that the other party would allow him to leave. Although the other party was only a remnant soul, based on the fact that he was able to protect the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl for so many years, he had to be careful. Chapter 287. All right. I promise you, after a short period of contemplation, Chu Hen finally said such a sentence. No matter what, it was better to leave this place safely. If he did not agree to the other party's conditions, it was hard to guarantee that he would not continue to keep this secret and deal with him. After all, the other party was one of the 7 great star soul envoys, not to mention that this was the star spying formation. If they did not come to an agreement, Chu Hen would probably feel a little awkward. The current Chu Hen was no longer the fledgling kid in the Fire City of Rain. After experiencing these things in the imperial capital, he had a more comprehensive view of things. Very good. The old man nodded slightly, but he was more satisfied with Chu Hen's answer. Then can I take the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl away now? Not yet. Oh, I hope you can make an oath that you will definitely find a descendant of this dynasty for me. Swear? Chu Hen could not help but find it funny. In his opinion, things like oaths were purely nonsense to deceive a 3-year-old child. Hee, old senior, is there any meaning to this? If I really want to deceive you, I can just bluff you with a few words. If you don't believe me, then you should find someone else to help you. The old man was not angered by Chu Hen's rudeness. Instead, the gaze he used to look at Chu Hen increased in relief. Just based on what you said just now, I am willing to believe you. Ha! So Senior was testing me just now. Chu Hen was a little helpless. Sure enough, the older the ginger, the wiser it was. It was probably because he had made some sort of oath just now that the other party was even more worried. After all, if he agreed too readily, it would only cause others to mistakenly think that he wanted to trick the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl into his hands first. I have set up a restriction on the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl. After 6 years, the power of the Star Soul Pearl will seal itself. In other words, after 6 years, you will not be able to use the power of the Dubhi Astral Soul Pearl. And the only ones who can undo that seal are the descendants of our 7 Souls nation, the old man said solemnly. Chu Hen was startled at first. Immediately, he involuntarily shook his head and smiled. In other words, I must help you find the descendants of the imperial family of the 7 Souls Empire within 6 years. Otherwise, I will no longer be able to use the Dubhi Star Soul Pearl? That's right. All right. Chu Hen rubbed his nose. This old man was really smart. Of course, if he couldn't find the descendant of the 7 Spirits Kingdom, he would be able to use the Dubhi Star Soul Pearl for free for 6 years. Thinking about it, it was still more worthwhile for him. But What do we do after we find the descendants of the royal family? Give this to them. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man raised his illusory right palm and released a slight wave of energy. A ball of white light wrapped around a black box and pushed it toward Chu Hen. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and reached out to take the box. The black box was made of an unknown material. It was rather heavy, and the surface of the box was covered with mysterious, dark, golden patterns. Chu Hen could clearly feel an extremely stable power blocking his divine sense and true yuan. This box can only be opened by members of the imperial family of this dynasty. If others forcibly break through the restriction inside, the power of the restriction is enough to turn a void-piercing realm expert into ashes in an instant. Chu Hen's heart trembled. This old man was really ruthless. It was obvious that he was warning himself not to have any ideas about the things inside the black box. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Of course, although Chu Hen was curious, at least he still had his principles. Old senior, don't worry. I won't touch this thing. Then, Chu Hen casually put the black box into his storage ring. Do you have anything else to say? Tell the descendants of this dynasty that we must recover the mountains and rivers of my Seven Souls Empire. The old man's voice was somewhat bitter, but also full of unwillingness and indignation. Chu Hen sighed to himself. To be honest, so many years had passed. The Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom had long become history. The subjects of the Seven Souls Ancient Kingdom had already flowed into other dynasties and countries. Why would they still remember the former dynasty? Chu Hen thought about it and did not say it out loud. You can go and collect this star soul pearl, the old man said in a deep voice. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and a light flashed through his eyes. He nodded and then stepped toward the top of the hall. Stepping on the luxurious stairs, Chu Hen arrived in front of the stone platform. The golden dragon heads at the four corners of the stone platform opened their mouths and constantly emitted a soft white light. The center of the four lights was the soul pearl that was suspended in the air. Resplendent and holy light surged from the soul pearl, and the pattern of the Big Dipper was engraved on the body of the pearl. The Dubhe Star Soul Pearl has absorbed 200 to 300 years, more star power than the other 6 star soul pearls. When you collect it, a part of the spiritual power will also flow into your body. You have to be steady and don't accidentally explode, the old man's slightly displeased voice was heard. Originally, the power and the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl were left for the descendants of the Seven Souls Empire. However, they did not come. Now, it was all Chu Hen's fortune. Thank you for the reminder. Chu Hen smiled and then stretched out his left hand. A wisp of true yuan separated from his palm and flowed toward the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl. Buzz! The moment the true yuan came into contact with the Star Soul Pearl, the calm Star Soul Pearl suddenly shone brightly. An extremely restless energy erupted from the Star Soul Pearl. The 7-star pattern on the body of the pearl became especially dazzling. The 7 stars flickered with a bright light. The alcade at the end of the handle was the first to light up, followed by Mizar, Alioth, Migres, Fekta, Merak, and finally Dubhe soon after. The 6-star positions on the Big Dipper pattern dimmed one after another. Only the star position of Dubhe was still dazzling. Holy light continuously blossomed from the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl. 2 sharp rays of light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. He clenched his palm and firmly grasped the Star Soul Pearl in his hand. Boom! In the next instant, an especially powerful energy surged into Chu Hen's body like a flood that had broken through a dam. Boundless and majestic energy surged in endlessly. Chu Hen's body was like a dried-up riverbed, rapidly receiving the joyous water from the outside world. All the meridians in Chu Hen's body were flooded by this energy. His Dantian's Qi Si was like 100 rivers flowing into the sea, completely absorbing the powerful energy into his body. Rumble! The entire palace shook, and Chu Hen's skin blossomed with dazzling holy light. The old man behind him narrowed his eyes, a complicated expression on his illusory face. At the same time, at the peak of the Star Mountain in the outside world, on the vast plaza in front of the Seven-Star Temple, the 7 stone pillars that towered into the sky shook violently. What's going on? What's happening? The earth shook endlessly, the sky darkened, and the air became chaotic. The geniuses of the various empires who couldn't enter the myriad star spying formation all had a confused look on their faces. Immediately after, a few figures rushed out from the golden door in the sky in a sorry state. Why did they all come out? I don't know. The space inside the formation suddenly became very chaotic. We don't know what's going on inside either. Everyone looked at each other, and all of them had puzzled expressions on their faces. The tremors lasted for a few days, and countless cracks appeared on the plaza. Even the mountain walls of the Star Peak had long and narrow cracks, and rocks of all sizes rolled down the deep mountain stream. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed since the myriad star spying formation had opened. More and more geniuses came out from behind the Golden Gate, and most of them had gained something. However, in the following day, everyone who was participating in the 6 Nations Heaven Ranking tournament headed towards the same place. Heaven Gorge platform. The last day of the preliminaries. In the space of the myriad star spying formation, the luxurious palace quietly returned to its peaceful state. Looking at the young figure in the hall, the illusory old face of the Dubhe Star Spirit Envoy was still filled with surprise. Just who is this kid? Next to the crystal stone platform, Chu Hen's eyes were lightly closed. He stood motionless like a statue. The strong and dense spiritual mist that lingered around his body converged into his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Hen's skin emitted a sparkling and translucent luster. The outline of his handsome face revealed an extraordinary, heroic aura. Buzz! Suddenly, Chu Hen abruptly opened his eyes. In the depths of his sharp and deep pupils, a demonic purple light and a black light fused together. As the 2 rays of light gradually faded away, the aura that Chu Hen emitted also quickly retracted. But under this converged aura, every inch of Chu Hen's flesh and tissue contained extremely terrifying power. Phew! Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. He looked down at his left palm, where there was a vague pattern of 7 stars, and the Dubhe star on the pattern was the most conspicuous with a thought. A ball of white light suddenly rose from Chu Hen's palm. This power was extremely powerful, but it was also difficult for Chu Hen to control for a while. The Dubhe Star Soul Pearl was a sage-level treasure. With Chu Hen's current strength, it was extremely difficult for him to control its power. To be honest, under normal circumstances, the old man giving Chu Hen 6 years of time was also because he had other intentions. After all, in his opinion, Chu Hen would not be able to control the power of the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl within 6 years. And the more one could not obtain something, the more tempting it was. Chapter 288. Phew! Chu Hen let out a long sigh of relief, and the demonic purple light and black flame in his deep eyes faded away. He looked at the obscure 7-star pattern on his palm, and a knowing smile appeared on his face. The Dubhe Star Soul Pearl was a top sacred treasure. On the other hand, sage-level treasures could be hidden in the human body without being discovered by others. However, with Chu Hen's current strength, it was not enough to control the power of a sacred treasure, but it was still possible to extract a part of its power. Even a small part of it had a huge destructive power. Why do you want to suppress the improvement of your realm? The deep old voice of the Dubhe Star Soul Envoy came from behind. Chu Hen raised his eyelids slightly and turned around with a smile. My cultivation level is increasing too fast, and it will easily cause instability in my foundation. Chu Hen's realm was at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, and now he was still at the 6th level. Together with the huge energy that was poured into Chu Hen's body by the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl, It was enough to make Chu Hen's realm increase greatly. However, Chu Hen did not do so. He suppressed the huge energy in his Dantian sea of qi and forcibly suppressed the growth of his cultivation level. Therefore, Chu Hen's realm was still at the 6th level. Of course, the 6th level of the core transformation realm was not the 6th level of the core transformation realm. The energy from the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl had already flowed through all the major meridians in Chu Hen's body and integrated into his bones and flesh. The strength of Chu Hen's body and true core energy had increased a lot compared to before. The most important thing was that as long as Chu Hen wanted to break through to a higher level, he could do so at any time. The reason why he suppressed the growth of his realm was that he had just broken through to the 6th level of the core transformation realm in the Lee Valley not long ago. He was not in a hurry to break through to a higher level. After listening to Chu Hen's simple answer, the Dubhe Star Soul Envoy's eyes showed some admiration. He did not expect that this young guy in front of him would have such a mature way of doing things. If it was someone else, they would directly increase their cultivation level without thinking about anything else. However, they didn't know that being eager for quick success and instant benefits would have an impact on their future progress in cultivation. However, that energy strength is extremely great. You are actually able to suppress it. Looks like your body is hiding quite a number of secrets, Dubhe Star Spirit Envoy said. Chu Hen smiled and did not say much. Everyone has secrets, don't they? You are very smart, but I hope that you can complete the task I entrusted to you. As he spoke, his already illusory body became even more transparent, and the aura he gave off rapidly weakened. Old Senior, you? Chu Hen frowned. I existed by relying on the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl. Now that the Star Soul Pearl has been taken away by you, I'm about to dissipate. Sorry. There's no need to apologize. For me, this is a release. A strand of resentment, just to protect the last hope of the 7 Spirits country. Chu Hen couldn't help but feel deep veneration. The other party was indeed a person worthy of respect. Don't worry, Old Senior. I will do my best to help you find the descendant of the 7 Spirits country. Although I am not 100% sure that I can complete this task, I will definitely do my best. Please. The Dubhe Star Spirit Envoy looked at Chu Hen gratefully, and then the transparent body disappeared. Like a thin layer of bubbles, it disappeared without a trace in an instant, in the blink of an eye. Only Chu Hen was left in the huge palace. Until now, Chu Hen still felt like he was in a dream. The series of events that happened was so dreamy that it was a little unreal. However, it was undeniable that Chu Hen had gained a lot from this trip. Firstly, he had swallowed Lei Yuan Street Tree, and his realm had increased to the level of a 5th grade advanced rune master. With the help of the strange street tree, the speed of gathering runes had become especially fast. Secondly, he had unraveled the biggest secret of the Saint Star dynasty by accident. Using the power of the 7 stars to refine his body, he had obtained the Big Dipper heavenly star scripture. Of course, the biggest surprise was obtaining the Dubhe Star Soul Pearl, which had been lost for more than 200 years. It was a sacred object that could cause bloodshed. However, because of this, Chu Hen also had to shoulder the task of finding the descendant of the 7 Spirits country's royal family. I wonder what's in that black box? Chu Hen muttered to himself. Forget it. Shaking his head, Chu Hen lifted his eyelids, and his bright eyes revealed a touch of indifference. Today should be the last day of the preliminaries. On the last day of the preliminaries, how many people would be able to successfully enter the finals? Heaven Gorge platform. This was the peak of a mountain that was tens of thousands of meters high. It was surrounded by clouds and mist, and the mountains and rivers were magnificent. The 10,000-meter tall mountain stood tall among the mountains, exuding a majestic and mighty aura that could uproot the 5 mountains. What was even more shocking was that this giant peak was actually split into 2, and it split down the middle. forming a bottomless gorge. At the top of the deep gorge, there was a majestic stone bridge. On both sides of the stone bridge was an incomparably vast rooftop plaza. However, at this moment, on the plaza on the right, a fierce battle was taking place. Hand over the token. Humph, if you want the token, show me what you're capable of. You only have 2 tokens, so you have no chance of entering the finals. Why don't you hand over the token to me? As long as I snatch it from you, it'll be enough, right? The finals were about to begin. The geniuses from the dynasties who hadn't obtained the 6 tokens had already begun their final battle. The chaotic battle was extremely intense. As for those who had already collected the tokens or had given up on participating in the finals, they were watching from afar. Huang Fuliang, Yi Bugui, Lu Qi, Qi Teng, Peng Ao, Qining Xiao, and many other top geniuses had no intention of interfering. The main force of the Heaven List Battle of the 6 Nations was experts who had reached the 6th level of the core transformation realm and above. As long as these people entered the finals, it was enough. As for the others, it didn't matter. Moreover, anything could happen before the finals. The teams of the dynasties were on guard against each other, and no one dared to act rashly. That's strange. Why hasn't Chu Hen come out yet? I thought he was already here. Near the Sacred Star team, Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang, Yu Qinyu, and Xiao Yan all had a hint of confusion on their faces. Ever since they came out of the starry universe, spying array, they hadn't seen Chu Hen. They thought that he had arrived at the Heaven Gorge platform first. But in fact, they hadn't seen him at all. He should be here soon. Luo Mingshang raised her eyebrows slightly and said softly, in fact, it wasn't just them. Even the Flame Shadow team, the Heaven Luo team, and the Sacred Star team were secretly looking for Chu Hen. The battle in St. Fire City had already made many people pay attention to Chu Hen. Boom! At this moment, the space shook violently. Chapter 289. Boom! Along with an especially heavy explosion, a powerful aura suddenly attacked this side. A mighty shockwave erupted from the battle on the right side of the Heavenly Canyon stage. The geniuses who were fighting for the tokens were all sent flying one after another. They spat out mouthfuls of blood as they fell to the ground, unable to get up. The geniuses from the other dynasties were shocked, especially the members of the Saint Star team. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Wei Qing Fan, F***CK. This guy has been missing for 2 months. I thought he was already dead. Xiao Yan snorted and cursed in a low voice. This guy's cultivation base has increased by a lot. Long Qingyang frowned. 7th stage of the core transformation stage. He must have had a fortuitous encounter in the past 2 months. The newcomer was none other than the Earth Rankings runner-up who had been missing for 2 months, Wei Qing Fan. Ever since the start of the Heavenly Ranking competition, Wei Qing Fan had never appeared in front of anyone. However, now that he had appeared in such a domineering manner, it was truly surprising. Subsequently, a young and tall figure gradually walked out from behind Wei Qing Fan. Beautiful face, noble temperament. It was Yi Yu, whom he had not seen for 2 months, compared to 2 months ago. Yi Yu's eyes shone with confidence. She, who had suffered a series of setbacks in the Earth Ranking competition, had regained her charm. It was obvious that her confidence came from Wei Qing Fan. Not only did he not retract his terrifying aura, but it also grew stronger. Wei Qing Fan gently raised his right hand, and a dazzling golden light appeared in his palm. His cold gaze swept towards the Saint Star team. Where's that brat, Chu Hen? Come out now. Swoosh! The moment he said that, everyone was shocked. Was he looking for Chu Hen again? Other than the geniuses from the Sacred Star team who did not feel that anything was amiss, the people from the other 5 dynasties were surprised. It seemed like the Saint Star team had been having internal strife. But to the other teams, this was naturally something to be happy about. But when no one answered, Wei Qing Fan swept his gaze over the members of Saint Star, and in the end his gaze landed on Long Qingyang, Long Xuanxuang, and the others. Where's Chu Hen? Get him over here. His domineering tone was filled with contempt. Long Qingyang frowned and stepped forward. Chu Hen isn't here yet. You can look for me if you need anything. Ha 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 ha, looking for you? Long Qingyang, who do you think you are? You! Long Qingyang was just about to retort when a strong gust of wind suddenly swept over, accompanied by a playful laugh. May I know why first young Master Wei is looking for me? Boom! In an instant, everyone's eyes turned to look at the sky. A purple afterimage flew over from far away, then stopped a dozen or so meters in the air. The face of a handsome and extraordinary young man, a pair of purple light wings unfolded behind his back, and an indescribable aura of transcendence came pressing down from Chu Hen's body. Peng Ao from the Flame Shadow team and Yi Wugui from the Heaven Luo team had cold expressions when they saw Chu Hen's appearance. Huang Fuyang's eyes were filled with coldness. Although he already knew that Chu Hen didn't die in the desert valley, he still couldn't hide the coldness in his heart. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. At least, this sentence was especially suitable for Wei Qingfan. The air was filled with a chilling intent. Wei Qingfan pointed at Chu Hen, not concealing the killing intent in his eyes. Humph, Chu Hen, I'm sorry to tell you that you won't be able to participate in the finals today. Ha ha! Chu Hen indifferently smiled and replied without the slightest bit of concern. Since that's the case, then come. Bring it on. For simple words, without any superfluous words. Although the aura Chu Hen released was only at the 6th level of the core transformation realm, it was not inferior to Wei Qingfan, who was at the 7th level of the core transformation realm. Looking at Chu Hen's confident face, on the other side, Yi Yu could not help but have a bad premonition. However, it was also at this moment that a towering murderous aura erupted from Wei Qingfan's body. Rumble! A powerful destructive aura was released from Wei Qingfan's body, and a piercingly cold wind filled the entire arena. With Wei Qingfan at the center, long and deep cracks appeared on the bricks on the ground. Rapid astral winds surrounded Wei Qingfan and rotated rapidly. In the next moment, Wei Qingfan put his hands together and slowly separated them. A ball of dazzling golden light rapidly gathered and compressed together, forming a death sun wheel with sharp saw-teeth on its edge. Compared to the death sun wheel that he used during the earth-ranking battle, this death sun wheel was many times more powerful. Everyone could feel the power coming from the death sun wheel. Many geniuses from the various empires narrowed their eyes. The Sacred Star Empire's Wei clan's blazing sun battle body is indeed extraordinary. Qitang, the leader of the giant rock team, praised. In terms of pure destructive power, the blazing sun battle body's power was not inferior to some Xian body bloodlines. Chu Hen, don't be too careless, Long Qingyang warned in a low voice. Chu Hen was still smiling, a relaxed look in his calm eyes. Stinking brat, I'm going to tear you to pieces today. In the next moment, Wei Qingfan flew into a rage. As he leapt into the sky, he threw out the death sun wheel in his hand. Buzz, buzz, a terrifying destructive aura tore through the air, causing space to tremble violently wherever it passed. The death sun will burst out with a dazzling light like the sun, and it continued to expand as it moved. By the time it arrived in front of Chu Hen, its diameter had increased to nearly 100 meters. The enormous death sun wheel blotted out the sky, causing the world to dim in comparison. Wei Qingfan had an extremely strong aura of wanting to smash Chu Hen into pieces in front of everyone. Long Qingyang, Long Xuanshuang, Yu Chenyu and the others' expressions changed slightly as a grave look appeared in their eyes. However, Chu Hen did not take any defensive measures at this moment. Instead, he leaped into the air and charged straight at the domineering death sun wheel. He doesn't know his place. Wei Qingfan's face darkened as a sinister look flashed in his eyes. In his opinion, Chu Hen's actions were simply courting death. Chu Hen clenched his right hand into a fist as the Yuan core in his body rotated. His entire right arm glowed with a translucent luster. Boom! Under the astonished gazes of everyone present, Chu Hen's fist forcefully smashed onto the death wheel of the sun, which was filled with an extremely destructive aura. The unstoppable golden will came to a halt in an instant. Everyone's heart trembled at the sight. Bang! A violent explosion shook the sky. The next moment, the 100-meter-wide Death Sun wheel exploded in an unbelievable manner. A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions. The dazzling golden light that filled the sky was like fireworks that had blossomed in an instant. Chu Hen's seemingly simple punch contained the power to shatter mountains and rivers. Chu Hen's power shocked everyone present after he destroyed the Death Sun wheel with a single punch. Wei Qingfan's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Fear and trepidation quickly occupied his heart like a tide. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen left an illusory afterimage in the air as an ice-cold aura pressed down on his opponent like a mountain. Wei Qingfan. Chu Hen's cold words were as sharp as needles, and his voice was like an icicle. The current you doesn't even have the qualifications to take one move from me. How dare a piece of trash like you clamor in front of me? Every word was like thunder piercing the ears. Along with those cold words, Chu Hen's right fist landed heavily on Wei Qingfan's chest. Bang! A layer of scattered true essence splashed in the air, and everyone's hearts trembled. Wei Qingfan's face twisted, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The layer of true essence defense outside his body was like a layer of foam in front of Chu Hen. Wei Qingfan's chest immediately caved in, and the clothes on his back were torn apart, at the same time that the bones in his chest shattered. A large mouthful of blood gushed out of his mouth. The powerful impact force that was like a mountain directly surged downwards. Accompanied by dancing blood, Wei Qingfan directly fell from the sky and solidly smashed into the ground. The shattered rocks were like startled moths, causing dust to fly everywhere. A huge pit that was dozens of meters wide appeared in everyone's line of sight. Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. The power of a single punch was actually so terrifying. Most of the people present were terrified, especially Yiyu, who had come with Wei Qingfan. There was not a trace of blood on her pale face. Shock, fear, panic, and deep disbelief, all kinds of negative emotions occupied Yiyu's heart. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, and the last shred of hope in Yiyu's heart was completely shattered. In the Earth List Great Competition a few months ago, Chu Hen had only narrowly won against Wei Qingfan, but now Chu Hen had used his actions to tell everyone that Wei Qingfan was no different from trash in front of him. There would not be a next time. This was the last time you could prove whether her choice was right or wrong. And now Chu Hen had given her the answer. Looking at Wei Qingfan lying in the pile of rocks, a murderous intent flashed in Chu Hen's eyes. Buzz! Without the slightest pause, Chu Hen raised his hand and blasted out a fist towards Wei Qingfan. Swish! However, at this moment, a figure with a biting cold aura suddenly flashed out, and without a word, directly intercepted Chu Hen's fist. Bang! Chapter 290. Bang! The scattered true Yuan power that was recklessly fluttering rose up. Under the chaotic true Yuan qi swirling, Huang Fuliang's especially sharp figure directly blocked in front of Wei Qingfan, who was in the deep pit. His sword-like, sharp gaze passed through the air and intersected with Chu Hen's gaze, causing invisible sparks to burst forth. If you don't want to lose your life now, you'd better behave yourself. Huang Fulang's indifferent tone was filled with threat. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Everyone could feel a strong chill coming from Huang Fuliang's body. Yi Bugui, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, Peng Ao, Qi Ningxiao, and the other geniuses of the other empires watched this scene with interest. Based on the fact that Chu Hen did not show any mercy to Wei Qingfan, It could be seen that the internal conflict within the Sacred Star team had almost reached an irreconcilable level. For the other teams, the fiercer the internal conflict within the Sacred Star team was, the happier it was. Haha, interesting. Yi Bugue crossed his arms in front of him as he rubbed his chin with interest. Misty Wind Empire's leader, Lu Qi's innocent eyes lit up. I'm getting more and more interested in this man. The conflict between Huang Fuliang and Chu Hen also caused the people of the Sacred Star Group to become somewhat cautious. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any internal conflict at this time. However, due to Huang Fuliang's strength and status, not many people dared to interfere. Facing the powerful and cold aura that Huang Fuliang emitted, Chu Hen's eyes did not show the slightest fear as he replied indifferently, I'm afraid that senior brother Huang Fuliang is mistaken. I've always been well behaved. Everyone here saw it clearly just now. Who was the one who provoked? Who first? Shut your mouth. You have no right to criticize me. Huang Fuliang's tone did not allow the slightest resistance. On the other side, the expressions of Long Qingyang, Xiao Yan, and the others changed slightly. Only Luo Mingshang remained calm. She believed that Chu Hen should be able to handle the situation. Ha! Chu Hen sneered. At the same time, a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. However, before Chu Hen could reply, a piercingly cold aura suddenly rose above the heavenly gorge platform. Rumble! The weather changed and the sky darkened. In an instant, 2 golden beams of light with a diameter of over 100 meters descended from the sky, piercing through the surging clouds and landing on the heavenly gorge platform. Everyone present was shocked. Everyone's gaze shifted to the 2 pillars of light. Then a dozen or so figures with powerful auras walked out from the pillar of light. The one in the lead was a middle-aged man in an embroidered jade robe. He had a heroic air about him. He glanced at the geniuses from the various dynasties and said in a solemn voice, The preliminary round of the Heaven Ranking Tournament has ended. All participants, please enter the finals immediately. His slightly arrogant tone caused the hearts of all the geniuses on the heavenly ranking to tremble. The eyes of the geniuses were filled with excitement. Huang Fuliang coldly glanced at Chu Hen. His cold gaze was clearly surging with ridicule. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed as a playful smile rose on his lips. On the other hand, Long Qingyang, Yu Chenyu, and the rest breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't expect the stalemate to be broken. Participants who have qualified for the finals, please hand over the 6 tokens to me for inspection before entering the teleportation array on the left. As for those who have failed, please enter the teleportation array on the right, the middle-aged man said in an orderly manner. About the time it took to brew a cup of tea, 2 dazzling golden beams of light soared into the sky from the peak of the heavenly gorge platform and gracefully leaped into the sky. In just a few breaths' time, Chu Hen only saw a bright light flash before his eyes, and in the next instant, a torrential uproar came crashing down like a tsunami. Buzz! Deafening cheers and enthusiastic applause resounded throughout the arena like rolling thunder. This was an extremely majestic arena. This was an extremely large arena. There was a dense crowd in all directions, and the crowd in the spectator stands ignited the fiery atmosphere. Huang Fuliang will win. Sacred Star Team will win. Misty Wind Team will win. Lu Qi, good luck. Heaven Luo Team will be the champion. Night Uncanny is the strongest. Such a grand arena actually accommodated the guests and spectators of the 6 great dynasties. Not only were the citizens of the Sacred Star Empire here, but guests from the other dynasties had also come. The spectators from the various dynasties were neatly distributed in the spectator stands, but there were only a few guests from the other 5 dynasties. Most of them were from the Sacred Star Empire. Senior Brother Ji Xian, Senior Brother Chu Hen, Senior Brother Xiao Yan, Senior Sister Yu Yu, over here. The students and mentors from the Tensei Prefecture were seated in the southern section of the spectator stands. Chu Hen saw mentor Shilan at first glance. She had a delicate and beautiful face, and her long purple hair was beautiful and eye-catching. Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and He Qingyuan all stood up and applauded. Chu Hen, do your best. Mu Feng even yelled at the top of his lungs. Big brother Chu Hen, good luck. Yi Yao also clapped her hands and yelled from the Tifeng province's side. The gentle rays of the sun shone down. Everyone's state of mind gradually calmed down. The geniuses who qualified for the finals were all on the large arena in the center. The contestants who couldn't get the 6 tokens were teleported to the entrance of the spectator stands. 6 dynasties had 600 top geniuses on the heaven roll. However, only less than 60 people made it to the finals, on average. There were less than 10 people in each dynasty's team who advanced. Among them, the Sacred Star Dynasty had the most number of people who advanced. What was even more unexpected was that the 4 students from the Tensei Prefecture, Chu Hen, Ji Xian, Xiaoyan, and Bai Yue, had all advanced. Looking at the 4 people standing on the arena, the students and mentors from the Tensei Prefecture were pleasantly surprised. However, in reality, Bai Yue's advancement was not without reason. After all, her keepsakes were all given by Chu Hen. Haha, it's my honor to host the pinnacle of the 6 Nations Heaven Roll tournament again. I'm your old friend, Lu Tong. A loud and powerful voice reverberated in the entire competition area. The people of the Sacred Star Dynasty could not help but be taken aback. Lu Tong was the manager of the Qingyun Trade Association. He was also the one who hosted the Earth Roll tournament a few months ago. Boom! Bang! As soon as Lu Tong finished speaking, a deafening and loud gun salute suddenly bloomed in the sky. After the gun salute, the solemn sound of a horn followed. In the next moment, an extremely loud voice was transmitted into everyone's ears. Chapter 291. The 6 great sovereign kings have arrived. The loud and clear sound was accompanied by the earth-shaking cannon salute. The solemn and mighty sound of the horn reverberated throughout the vast heaven list finals venue. On the central fighting platform, Huang Fuliang, Night Not Strange, Lu Qi, Qi Teng, Peng Ao, Qi Ningxiao, and the others, all the geniuses were shocked. They didn't expect that the 6 great sovereign kings would attend this year's heaven list competition. Boom! The atmosphere in the audience was like a tsunami rising and stacking. Everyone in the audience stood up one after another. Tens of thousands of gazes swept towards a majestic jade building in the north at the same time. It was a magnificent building as tall as a city wall. It was also the highest and best place to watch the competition. The corridor of the building faced the center of the arena. A row of guards in armor stood on both sides of the building like statues, emitting a piercing cold aura. A row of luxurious thrones was set up in the long corridor. Immediately in front of countless pairs of eyes that were filled with respect, 6 figures wearing gorgeous jade robes and a golden crown on their heads appeared one after another in the building. The appearance of these 6 figures and the invisible aura of a king directly suppressed the atmosphere of the audience. Everyone present bowed deeply and shouted, "Long live the Emperor!" Everyone, please rise. The sovereign of the Sacred Star Dynasty, Huang Fu Hao, waved his sleeves, showing the demeanor of a king. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The respectful words of thanks were in unison. It was the first time that the 6 great sovereigns had gathered in the capital of the Sacred Star Dynasty. The geniuses of the various dynasties couldn't help but feel touched. In today's Heaven List finals, they must go all out and do their best. Chu Hen raised his head and roughly observed the sovereigns of the 6 dynasties. Without a doubt, the emperor of the Sacred Star Dynasty was the youngest. Huang Fu Hao, who was less than 20 years old, stood beside the other 5 sovereigns. Although he had the demeanor of a sovereign, he was slightly lacking in domineeringness. Fortunately, the regent Huang Fuqing was beside him. Otherwise, the other 5 sovereigns wouldn't steal the limelight. Huang Fuqing was wearing a dark, golden robe with python patterns. He was elegant and beautiful, but he didn't lose his majesty. In terms of aura, Huang Fuqing was more like a ruler than Huang Fu Hao. The Flame Shadow Dynasty, the Giant Rock Dynasty, and the Sword Dynasty were all in their 40s. All of them were extraordinarily valiant and had an intimidating aura. Between their brows, there was a domineering aura that was different from others. However, the ruler of the Misty Wind Dynasty was a woman. Furthermore, she was a beautiful woman. Her long blue hair was tied up in a phoenix coronet, and her fair skin was as translucent as jade. Her eyes were clear and gentle like water, but the majesty that emanated from her body was not any weaker than the other monarchs. As for the ruler of the Tianluo Empire, he was dressed in a black dragon robe, and his slender eyes exuded a faint demonic charm. His aura was also extraordinary. The monarchs of the 6 dynasties took their seats on the dragon throne. Behind them stood a few attendants in light clothes. In fact, all of them were top-notch experts from the various empires. TSK. It's really worth it to be able to witness such a grand scene in my lifetime. Sigh, His Majesty is still a little weak in front of the others. That's normal. His Majesty is still young, so his aura is naturally weaker. But this is already very good. The people below the stage were discussing, softly. It was also at this moment that another loud and clear voice rang out. The Divine Empress has arrived. Boom! The Divine Empress has arrived? In an instant, the atmosphere changed once again. Along with the colorful rain of flowers, a woman in her 40s with a phoenix coronet and red robe, who had a noble temperament, was supported by many guards and maids as she slowly ascended the pavilion. The appearance of the Divine Empress immediately attracted everyone's attention. The various monarchs stood up politely. An emperor of the Sacred Star Dynasty, Huang Fu Hao, hurriedly stood up from his seat and respectfully welcomed her. Your son pays his respects to Mother. Greetings, Mother. Son, you don't have to be so courteous. The Divine Empress smiled. Thank you, Mother. In the eyes of outsiders, the Emperor and the Divine Empress treated each other with great respect. The mother was kind and the son was filial. This was the story of the Sacred Star Dynasty. But in reality, everyone in the imperial city knew that the real ruler of the dynasty was not the emperor, but the Divine Empress. She was the person with the highest authority in the entire dynasty. As early as when he was in Tensei Prefecture, Chu Hen unintentionally heard Zhou Lu and Li Hui mention that the real ruler of the imperial family was the Divine Empress. This made Chu Hen observe the Divine Empress a few more times. The Divine Empress was not a martial cultivator, or at least her cultivation was not high. This was Chu Hen's first impression. Yet it was this woman with almost no cultivation that could control the entire government. This was truly unimaginable. The Divine Empress did not have much cultivation, but everyone by her side was an expert. Among them, the ones that caught Chu Hen's attention the most were the 2 elders, one fat and one skinny, beside the Divine Empress. One was dressed in white, the other in black. One had eyes like a tiger, the other had eyes like an eagle. Although these 2 elders had restrained their aura, they still gave off an unshakable and powerful aura. They were absolute, void-piercing experts. I didn't think that even the Divine Empress would appear. Is there a need to say? For such an important competition, the 6 sovereigns are all here. How could the Divine Empress not appear? The 2 beside the Divine Empress must be the famous fiend duo. TSK. Only someone like the Divine Empress can make these 2 seniors willingly serve as her guards. That's right. 10 years ago, the fiend duo was a fearsome figure. Now, it's hard to find a worthy opponent in the Sacred Star Dynasty. All sorts of exclamations could be heard, but there were even more people who had indescribable emotions in their eyes. A woman holding the position of power in the imperial family was, in reality, something that many of the elders of the previous generation were extremely opposed to. However, in recent years, the Sacred Star dynasty had been enjoying good weather and prosperity. This was also what the billions of citizens of the Sacred Star dynasty were conflicted about. Haha, 10 years ago, during the negotiation between the two countries, they still called you Empress. Who would have thought that now they would call you Divine Empress? The Flame Shadow King raised his hand and said with interest, Your Majesty Flame Shadow must be joking. I am but a woman. How could I trouble the Flame Shadow King? The Divine Empress replied indifferently, Ha 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 ha. The one who really knows how to joke is you, Divine Empress. You are no ordinary woman. The two women that I admire the most are you, the Divine Empress and the Misty Wind Monarch. Misty Wind Monarch? Everyone's eyes subconsciously glanced at the only woman among the 6 sovereigns, the blue-haired Misty Wind Monarch. However, the moment the Flame Shadow King said this, the Sacred Star King, Huang Fu Hao's face paled. Anyone could hear the other meaning in the Flame Shadow King's words. He was comparing the Divine Empress to the Misty Wind Monarch. The meaning was obvious. One day, the Divine Empress would no longer be the Divine Empress, but the Sacred Star King. The Misty Wind Monarch was compared for no reason, but she only smiled and did not say anything else. At this moment, the most awkward person was Huang Fu Hao. His aura was obviously suppressed. The regent, Huang Fuqing, saw this and hurriedly said, Mother, Your Majesties, the finals of the Heaven Ranking Tournament of the 6 nations are about to begin. Your Majesties, why don't you sit down and enjoy the battle that happens once every 50 years? That's right. Huang Fu Hao also took the Divine Empress' hand from the palace maid. Mother, your son will help you to your seat. Yes. Thank you, my son. The Divine Empress revealed a motherly smile. The sudden awkwardness was easily resolved by Huang Fuqing, which made Huang Fu Hao inwardly heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, many of the elders present were full of praise for Huang Fuqing. At the same time, everyone felt that the relationship between the 6 dynasties was not as harmonious as it seemed. Even if they sat together, they had to be wary of a sudden knife. The 6 sovereigns returned to their seats. The Divine Empress sat on a wide chair to Huang Fu Hao's left. The Fiend Star duo stood close behind the Divine Empress. The other monarchs also had experts protecting them. On Huang Fu Hao's side, other than Huang Fuqing, there were no other void-piercing realm experts by his side. The Heaven-ranking tournament was about to begin. The faces of the 6 sovereigns were filled with anticipation. Huang Fuqing's beautiful eyes looked at the host Lu Tong, who was standing on a 10-meter-high platform in front of the pavilion. The latter nodded respectfully and raised both of his arms. Today's tournament is extraordinary. I believe that the entire audience is already a little impatient. Since that's the case, I won't waste any more time. The rules of the Heaven-ranking tournament are very simple. The winner can choose to continue defending the arena, or he can choose to leave the arena and rest. The only one standing in the arena is the Heaven-ranking champion. Now, I announce that the Heaven-ranking tournament of the 6 nations will begin immediately. Begin immediately. Boom. In an instant, the entire arena erupted with a monstrous aura. The deafening cheers caused the entire arena to shake faintly. Huang Fuliang, Yi Bugue, Qi Tang, Lu Qi Pengao, and Qi Ningxiao had a sharp glint in their eyes. Chapter 292. The finals of the Heaven List competition of the 6 nations had arrived as scheduled. The emperors of the 6 great dynasties and the Sacred Empress of the Sacred Star dynasty had arrived. This caused an unprecedented wave of excitement in the competition. Close to 60 geniuses who had qualified for the finals stood below the arena. The audience cheered and jumped in joy, their momentum stacked up. The guests of the various dynasties came from afar to cheer for the geniuses of their dynasties. As for the citizens of the Sacred Star dynasty, their cheers were even louder. Huang Fuliang is the strongest. Huang Fuliang will win. Knight not cunning champion. Lu Qi, go for it. The audience was crazy, especially in a battle that would shock the entire nation. They could not lose their momentum. Huang Fuliang, who was below the arena, was in high spirits. His whole body was filled with confidence. Knight Unsley, Lu Qi, Qi Teng, Pang Ao, Qi Ningxiao, and the other geniuses didn't lose out to any of the other geniuses either. All the teams were in their best condition, ready to go all out in front of the kings. First battle, start! Along with the host Lu Tong's voice. Swoosh! 2 rapid, wind-breaking movements could be heard. 2 sharp figures flew onto the grand arena from 2 different directions. These 2 were the geniuses of the Rock Dynasty and the Sword Dynasty. One had a calm and powerful aura, while the other had a sharp aura. Lu Jun win. Get a good start for the Rock Dynasty. Yang Zhao, destroy him. The guests of the 2 dynasties were especially excited. After all, those who could represent their dynasties in the 6 Nations competition were all top geniuses. None of the geniuses who could stand out in the finals were weak. No matter if it was Lu Jun or Yang Zhao, they were the top geniuses in their respective teams. Ha! I didn't expect my opponent to be you. Yang Zhao's long sword trembled as a sharp sword aura was released from his body. Strands of sword aura quickly wrapped around the sword. Lu Jun smiled coldly. He raised his fists and prepared to fight. If it was someone else, it might be more troublesome. But since it's you, I will definitely win. Humph, then I want to see what gives you the confidence to say such words. Xiao. After saying that, Yang Zhao took the initiative to attack. Together with his astonishing sword aura, he moved around the stage at an extremely fast speed. Hey! Lu Jun's eyes turned cold. When the other party was less than 10 meters away from him, a brown light suddenly burst out from his body. Rock fist! Buzz! Lu Jun punched out with lightning speed, the powerful fist force causing the space around him to tremble violently. Next, his muscular right arm transformed into a rock arm at an astonishing speed. The stone arm instantly grew to 10 meters and smashed towards Yang Zhao with the power to split mountains. Everyone in the audience was secretly startled by such a ferocious attack. The Heaven List tournament was indeed different. The Earth List tournament was on a completely different level. Humph, insignificant tricks. A look of disdain appeared on Yang Zhao's face. The treasured sword in his hand blossomed with a dazzling light. With a raise of his hand, he flicked his sword upwards. A resplendent sword shadow shot out and struck the rock, splitting the rock fist in half. But right at this moment, Lu Jun stomped his foot heavily and shouted in a stern voice. Crater! Rumble! In an instant, the entire arena trembled, and the stage that connected the 2 of them directly sank downwards. The powerful force was like a landslide that instantly collapsed, and an enormous pit swiftly appeared before everyone's eyes. Yang Zhao's expression changed slightly. He hadn't expected Lu Jun's ability to move so quickly. Humph, do you really think you can trap me with such a crude ability? As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Zhao leaped up before the ground beneath him had completely sunk. Moreover, he used his sword aura to open a path in front of him, and he was like a flowing shadow that flashed through the sky as he attacked Lu Jun. Ha, idiot! A wisp of a mocking smile appeared on Lu Jun's face, and then he pointed down with one hand and struck the ground with dense true origin energy. Wall of earth and rock. Rumble. In the next instant, a wall of earth and rock that was more than 10 meters tall suddenly rose in front of Lu Jun, and a surging might spread in all directions. This wall of earth and rock was like a large stone shield that blocked between the 2 of them. In the eyes of the majority of the audience, Lu Jun was probably trying to form a defense to block Yang Zhao's attack. However, in the next second, the same rock wall rose up from Yang Zhao's left, right, and back. The 4 stone walls were like a cage, directly sealing off Yang Zhao's front, back, and back. Only the top path was left. Swish! Without any hesitation, Yang Zhao hurriedly dashed out from the top path. However, the moment Yang Zhao appeared at the exit of the top road, a peerlessly powerful, ferocious, and domineering giant rock fist whizzed toward him. You still don't believe me when I say that you're an idiot. Boom! Along with these words, the incomparably hard giant rock fist directly smashed into Yang Zhao's body, who was caught off guard. A force comparable to that of a mountain violently surged towards him, causing Yang Zhao's body to violently tremble. Blood spurted from his mouth as he was sent flying along with his sword. The battle was over in an instant. Lu Jun of the Boulder Empire was the first to win the first battle. Boom! The spectators on the Boulder Empire's side erupted into cheers and applause. Well done, Lu Jun! Haha, the Boulder Empire will definitely win. Even though the first battle wasn't particularly intense, it was quite exciting. This battle was especially clever. First, he used the advantage of the bloodline boundary to restrict his opponent's attacks, preventing Yang Zhao from displaying his proper battle strength. The 4 earth and rock walls seemed to be trying to trap Yang Zhao, but in reality, they were deliberately forcing him to walk on the road. As soon as Yang Zhao walked on the road, Lu Jun did not say anything and blasted out an extremely powerful rock fist, steadily winning the first battle. This was not only a contest of strength, but also a contest of intelligence. Lu Jun's performance won the praise of countless people. Below the arena, Chu Hen, who was standing with Long Qingyang, Luo Mingshang, and the others, narrowed his eyes and secretly nodded his head. The geniuses who were able to make it to the finals of the Heaven List were not ordinary people. This level of strength was much higher than the Earth List battle. Chu Hen's gaze subconsciously swept towards Yi Bugue, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, and a few others. During the preliminary round, these leader-level figures had not revealed their true strength. If he wanted to fight with these people, it would be better to be more cautious. On the majestic jade building in the north, a faint smile had already appeared on the face of the Boulder Emperor. On the other hand, the Sword Dynasty Emperor frowned slightly, his eyes surging with some gloominess. The first battle had ended, but Lu Jun had no intention of going down to rest. His eyes were full of vigor and confidence. Humph! At this moment, a young and vigorous figure flew out from the Tianluo Empire's team. A low and deep noise rose from the audience. It's the Ghost Spear King's personal disciple. I didn't expect him to go up so soon. As expected of the young and frivolous, as the successor of the Ghost Spear King, Yi Bugue was still very famous. However, when the Ghost Spear King, one of the 3 great spear kings of the 100 Nations continent, was mentioned, many people immediately thought of Chu Hen, who had unintentionally obtained the legacy of the Demon Spear King Fong Bufan. Mu Feng, Zhou Lu, and Li Hui, who were sitting in the seats of the Tensei Prefecture, discussed in a low voice. I wonder if the disciple of the Ghost Spear King is stronger, or if Chu Hen, who has obtained the legacy of the Demon Spear King, is stronger. Haha, of course it's Chu Hen who is stronger. A gentle and hearty voice suddenly sounded. Senior brother Xiaoyan? The few of them were stunned. Why did he run to the audience seats? He was clearly in the contestant area just now. Senior brother Xiaoyan, why did you run here? Li Hui asked. Xiaoyan smiled. He sat down on the empty seat that the few of them moved and said, If this situation continues, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to go on stage. I'll just wait here and see what happens. From the tone of the other party, it could be heard that Xiaoyan had the intention of giving up on going on stage. After all, among the less than 60 geniuses, his strength could only be ranked in the lower middle level. Fortunately, Xiaoyan's personality was more carefree. Instead of waiting below, he might as well go back to the audience seats and watch the competition. Senior brother Xiaoyan, you just said that Chu Hen is stronger than that Yi Wu Gui. Could it be that they had already fought during the preliminary round? Li Hui asked curiously. Song Qinglai, Shadowless, and Xilan, who were sitting nearby, also looked at him with questioning gazes. Yes, Xiao Yan nodded without hesitation. The two of them have indeed fought. If it wasn't for that Yi Wu Gui running fast, the grass on his grave would have grown to a meter tall next year. The moment this was said, everyone was shocked. F*CK, is this guy that fierce? Mu Feng blurted out. All the Tensei prefectures, mentors, were shocked. Shi Lan's beautiful eyes looked at the young figure standing next to Luo Mingshang in the contestants' area. In just 2 months, that handsome face seemed to have matured a little. It seemed that in these 60 days, Chu Hen's body had experienced quite a few unforeseen events. Why don't I see that Lei Yuan? Mu Feng asked curiously. Before the preliminary round, Mu Feng, Lei Zhen, Lei Li, and Chu Hen had met Lei Yuan. Mu Feng still remembered that ungrateful guy from Xingzhong City. Xiao Yan shook his head. I'm not too sure about the specifics, but I heard that Lei Yuan's Dao tree was destroyed by Chu Hen and he became a cripple. Seeing that he didn't appear in the Heaven's Net group, he most likely died in the Seven Souls' ancient kingdom ruins. What? The street tree was destroyed by Chu Hen? Everyone's expressions changed again, especially Lei Zhen, who was next to him. He clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes were filled with complex emotions. Chapter 293. The Rock Dynasty was the first to win the heaven-ranking battle of the Six Nations. The winner of the first battle was Lu Jun. In the second battle, his opponent was Yi Wu Gui from the Tian Luo dynasty. As the direct disciple of the Ghost Spear King, Yi Wu Gui, who was at the 7th level of the core transformation stage, was obviously stronger than the contestant from the Sword Dynasty. Yang Zhao, the blood-devouring spear, stirred up the aura in all directions. The piercingly cold spear aura and the strange spear technique suppressed Lu Jun. Ha! I guess you're regretting staying on the stage now. A mocking smile appeared on Yi Wu Gui's face. Streaks of sharp, blood-red spear shadows attacked Lu Jun's vital points like a storm. Lu Jun summoned the rock armor to defend himself as he retorted sarcastically. Humph, you're talking as if you're really powerful. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Oh, really? Bang! The sharp spear shadows struck the sturdy rock armor one after another, and the overbearing power caused long and narrow cracks to appear on the armor. It was obvious that Lu Jun was in a difficult position in Yi Wu Gui's hands. Ha! I advise you to surrender. Otherwise, my blood-devouring spear will be blind. What a joke! You're someone who was defeated by someone else's Demon Slayer spear. How dare you put on an act here? What? Lu Jun's mocking words immediately caused an uproar in the surroundings. Wasn't the Demon Slayer spear referring to Chu Hen? Yi Wu Gui, who was at the 7th level of the core transformation stage, was defeated by Chu Hen? Was it true? At the same time, Yi Wu Gui's face turned gloomy and cold. Shut your mouth. Waves of surging profound ghost energy erupted from Yi Wu Gui's body. The dense, demonic, blood-red light gathered on the body of the blood-devouring spear. An incomparably strong and cold aura spread out from the stage. Under the shocked gazes of the audience, Yi Wu Gui's body, whose aura was constantly rising, had undergone a significant change. His veins bulged, his arms became thicker, and his eyes became scarlet, emitting a bloodthirsty light. Sensing the dangerous, murderous aura from Yi Wu Gui, Lu Jun's expression changed, but he did not dare to be careless. Wall of earth rock! Boom! Lu Jun struck the ground with both of his palms, and in the next instant a rock wall that was more than 10 meters tall rose from the ground. Humph! This move is useless against me, Yi Wu Gui shouted angrily. Then he thrust his spear forward. The ghost weep blood-devouring spear, which was wrapped in a dazzling bloody light, swept up a mountain-like might and heavily struck the rock wall. Boom! A heavy bang exploded on the platform, and the powerful impact was like a mountain torrent that poured down. The rock wall between the two of them was forcibly shattered by Yi Wu Gui's spear. Rocks of all sizes flew everywhere, and the air was filled with the sound of waves. Whoosh! In the next moment, the blood-red spear pierced through the layers of rubble and landed solidly on Lu Jun's chest. A circle of vigorous air waves spread out like ripples on the surface of the water. With a bang, the rock armor on Lu Jun's body exploded into pieces. Hiss! What followed was a sharp and ear-piercing sound. Lu Jun's pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle. Under Yi Wu-gui's sinister smile, the blood-devouring spear had directly pierced through the other party's chest. The blood-red tip of the spear came out from his back. Lu Jun, the faces of the people from the Boulder Empire changed greatly. Each of them clenched their fists, and their eyes were filled with anger. Hee, get down from here. Yi Wu-gui let out a strange and complacent laugh. He withdrew his spear and immediately kicked his opponent's body fiercely. Lu Jun flipped over and flew out, falling below the fighting ring. Just as the people from the Boulder Empire went forward to check on Lu Jun's condition, the people from the Tianluo Empire were already cheering excitedly. Good, Yi Wu-gui, good job. The Tianluo Empire will win. The Tianluo Empire is the strongest. Before the people from the Boulder Empire could finish celebrating, this round of attacks came. However, Lu Jun's defeat was also a reasonable matter. The difference in strength between the two was relatively large. It was reasonable for Yi Wu-gui to win. Yi Wu-gui, aren't you a little too ruthless? Seeing that Lu Jun's life was hanging by a thread and had fallen into a coma, a young man from the Boulder Empire shouted angrily. Humph! Yi Wu-gui slanted his blood spear, and traces of dark red blood flowed down the body of the spear. He coldly replied with a disdainful tone. In a battle on the platform, swords have no eyes. Death or injury is up to fate. If you have the ability, you can come up and fight with me. Why are you shouting below the platform? Humph! Do you think I'm afraid of you? The young man from the Boulder Empire was also hot-tempered. Without saying anything, he directly went up the platform. Accompanied by a surging aura, a broadsword surprisingly appeared in his hand. Today, I will cripple you, you bastard. After saying that, he raised his sword and attacked. A vigorous earth light pounced towards his opponent. Huh! Yi Wu-gui coldly smiled and calmly waved his ghost weep blood-devouring spear to counter the attack. Without giving the audience any time to catch their breath, the third battle began. The host judge, Lu Tong, secretly shook his head. It seemed that he had only mentioned the rules of the Heaven List Great Battle. After that, it basically had nothing to do with him. Of course, the Earth List Great Battle a few months ago was a ranking battle. Now it was a battle of attack and defense. The rules were different, so the situation on the battlefield was naturally different. When Lu Tong saw this, he simply ignored it and let the geniuses of the 6 dynasties wreak havoc on their own. Anyway, the 6 great sovereigns and the Saint Empress were all here, so Lu Tong could not do much. In the blink of an eye, the person from the Boulder Empire and Yi Wu-gui exchanged blows. The sword and spear collided, and sparks flew everywhere. This young man's strength was obviously stronger than Lu Jun. He was at the same realm as Yi Wu-gui, and both of them had tyrannical strength at the 7th level of the core transformation stage. This Yi Wu-gui's cultivation base has improved since the last time in the Saint Fire City. Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes wandered as she casually said. Chu Hen, who was next to her, nodded. He must have improved in the vast starry universe, spying array. Sigh. Yu Chenyu sighed helplessly. They are all so strong. I don't even dare to go up the stage. It's nothing. With your talent, you will definitely be able to catch up to them in the future. Really? Yu Chenyu's eyes lit up. Chu Hen nodded without thinking. He was not comforting Yu Chenyu. Ever since they met, he had always felt that Yu Chenyu had a lot of potential. Chu Hen and Yu Chenyu both entered the heaven ranking with the status of a high-ranked martial house's new disciple. Just based on this point, It was enough to show that Yu Chenyu had extraordinary potential. Chapter 294. Boom! A heavy explosion sounded on the stage. The blood-devouring ghost-weep spear in Yi Wu Gui's hand blossomed with a dazzling blood-red light. Countless sharp spear shadows swept out, and an unstoppable force crashed into the body of the young man from the Boulder Empire. The entire stage shook violently, and the broadsword in his opponent's hand flew out. His body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood before falling off the stage. Buzz! Ha ha, beautiful! As expected of the Ghost Spear King's disciple, he won 2 consecutive victories. The guests of the Tian Luo dynasty were extremely excited as they burst into cheers one after another. The faces of the Boulder Empire, who had lost 2 genius contestants in a row, were all gloomy and angry. The leader of the team, Chi Teng, narrowed his eyes and frowned slightly. His face was slightly cold. The leader of the Tian Luo Empire, Yi Wu Gui, crossed his arms in front of him and smiled with interest. He was very satisfied with Yi Wu Gui's performance. In the majestic pavilion, "Haha, Your Majesty Tian Luo, are you trying to win the championship?" The Boulder King chuckled and said in a mocking tone. The Tian Luo Emperor raised his eyebrows and glanced at the Divine Queen with a slightly demonic gaze. "Your Majesty Boulder, you think too highly of me. The 2-time champion hasn't even spoken yet." The other party had directly turned the spearhead to the Sacred Star Empire. The Sacred Star Emperor, Huangfu Hao, did not speak and looked at the Divine Queen beside him. The Divine Queen looked up and replied indifferently, "The competition has only just begun. Anything can happen. It's too early to say anything now." The kings only smiled at this and did not make any other explanations. "Who else wants to fight me?" Yi Wu Gui, who had won 2 consecutive victories, was like the sun in the sky. The blood-devouring, ghost-weep spear shone with a cold light. At this moment, Long Qingyang, who was beside Chu Hen, stepped forward. "Long Qingyang," Long Xuanxuang called out coldly. Long Qingyang turned around and smiled at them. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. If I don't make a move, I won't have a chance to go on stage later on. I don't want it to be that simple." Chu Hen nodded. "Be careful." "Haha, I will." As he spoke, Long Qingyang's silhouette moved and he landed on the central battle stage. "Hua! It's Long Qingyang. Holy sh*t, no way. Why was this fellow acting so recklessly again? I remember during the Earth List tournament, he almost died under Shan Yunqi's sword. This Yi Wu Gui is much stronger than that Shan Yunqi. This is too reckless." Long Qingyang's appearance did not inspire cheers from the Sacred Star Empire. Instead, it caused a wave of criticism. After all, the events of the Earth ranking battle were still fresh in his mind. If Chu Hen had not given him the blood crystal lotus in time, Long Qingyang would not be alive right now. Compared to Shan Yunqi, this Yi Wu Gui was clearly much stronger. Long Qingyang was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, overestimating himself. The guests from the Tian Luo Empire snorted disdainfully. This victory was completely free. It seemed that Yi Wu Gui's first 3 consecutive victories would not be a problem. "Hey, it's you?" Yi Wu Gui sneered with disdain in his eyes. Long Qingyang shrugged and said, "Last time in St. Fire City, you said that you wanted my sister to follow you, didn't you?" "Hee, why? Are you here to arrange a marriage with me?" "Haha, you're wrong. I'm here to settle the score. Buzz!" A powerful aura rose from Long Qingyang's body as soon as he finished speaking. His sharp eyes were filled with chilliness as his hands formed several seals in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Yan Yan's flame condensed into a ball in his palm. Long Qingyang pushed his hands forward and the fireball shot towards Yi Wu Gui. Rumble! The next second after the fireball left Long Qingyang's palms, an incomparably scorching wave of air surged towards Yi Wu Gui. The fireball grew several times in size, instantly turning into a giant fireball with a diameter of more than 10 meters. The fireball, which was the size of a house, swept up a terrifying power and crushed towards Yi Wu Gui. Everywhere it passed, the stone tiles on the ground melted into liquid. Everyone was inwardly shocked. How could Long Qingyang's flames be so terrifying? Humph. Do you really think you can hurt me with this level of attack? The corner of Yi Wu Gui's eyes flashed coldly as he raised the ghost weep blood devouring spear in his hand. Waves of terrifying power rose from the spear. The cold wind was mixed with a sharp, ghostly howl. Bang! A loud sound rang out as the peerlessly imposing blood-red cold spear directly collided with the enormous fireball. Heavy shock waves and rumbles resounded like a violent tide. Under the countless shocked gazes of the audience, the fireball was like a blossoming firework as it directly exploded from the center. Fireballs of various sizes rained down like a rain of fire. When they landed on the stage, they left a charred pit. Fortunately, the fighting platform was large enough that the fireballs did not fly into the spectator seats. However, the scorching heat waves still rushed towards the faces of the spectators. He too weak. Yi Wu Gui smashed his opponent's attack with his spear and pierced through the overlapping waves of air in front of him, charging towards Long Qingyang. Useless thing! How dare you act so arrogantly in front of me with that little ability of yours? If you want to marry me, I can consider sparing your life. His powerful aura stirred the air in all directions. The crowd secretly shook their heads at Yi Wu Gui's domineering attitude. Long Qingyang was simply asking to be humiliated. The leader of the Sacred Star team, Huang Fuliang, couldn't help sneering in disdain. Humph, what a disgrace. The cold air in Yi Wu Gui's palm blossomed with a demonic blood-red light as a surging pressure surged down. However, at this moment, Long Qingyang's body emitted an extremely violent energy wave. He raised his arms, palms facing upwards, and his fingers formed into claws. Buzz buzz! In the next instant, 2 different colored flames surged out from his body. What's that? Looking at the scene before them, the expressions of the spectators below the stage changed and their eyes widened. Is that the mystical scarlet flames and the bone blaze spiritual fire? This guy actually possesses those 2 mysterious flames? The audience from the other 5 empires were naturally the most shocked. As for the Sacred Star Empire, they already knew that Long Qingyang possessed the bone blaze spiritual fire, but they were shocked by the other flame that he had unleashed. The white bone blaze spiritual fire's heat was completely restrained, not leaking any of its power. The red mystical scarlet flames was as violent as magma, and the heat it emitted caused the space around it to distort. 2 types of domineering fire energy swirled around Long Qingyang's body, forming spiraling vortexes that spread in all directions. At this moment, Long Qingyang's rage was like that of a fiery demon. 9 soul dragon seal, twin dragon slaughter. Long Qingyang roared as scarlet and white flames rose from his body. With him as the epicenter, the area within dozens of meters was turned into a sea of fire. Roar! Roar! The peerlessly powerful dragon, Roar, shook the surroundings. A gale suddenly rose, and a heat wave spread across the sky. Under the surprised gazes of everyone present, 2 huge dragon shadows, one white and one red, flew out of the sea of fire. The ferocious aura of a ferocious beast suppressed the entire audience. Everyone present was visibly moved by this. Chu Hen, Long Xuanchuang, and Luo Mingshang were also shocked. They didn't expect Long Qingyang to be so adept at using the 2 flames in just a month's time. It seemed like Long Qingyang had also benefited from the starry universe, spying array. Roar! Without giving Yi Wu Gui any time to prepare, 2 huge, ferocious dragon shadows, one on the left and one on the right, set off a rolling thunderstorm as they attacked each other. Yi Wu Gui turned pale with fright. The dense pressure was comparable to the assault of a mountain, and even he was slightly unable to endure it. He really didn't expect a mere Long Qingyang to be able to unleash such terrifying power. Boom! Yi Wugui's pupils constricted as a destructive force bombarded the area in front of him. An incomparably violent shockwave spread out on the platform, and the rapid hot air wave rolled up the flying sand and dust in the air. A huge pit, dozens of meters wide, suddenly appeared on the platform. Immediately after, a battered figure covered in blood, with tattered clothes, was sent flying away. After retreating 30 to 40 meters in a row, Yi Wugui was finally able to stabilize his body. But looking at his current appearance, everyone could not help but gasp. Yi Wugui's clothes were burnt black, and he clutched his chest with one hand as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His furious face was filled with unwillingness and disbelief. There was no doubt that Long Qingyang had won. Yi Wugui's aura was weak and he could no longer fight. However, the outcome of this match was beyond everyone's expectations, especially those of the Sacred Star Empire. Long Qingyang's strength had grown to such a level in just a few months. On the other hand, Shen Yunqi, the plum blossom sword who had almost taken his life in the Earth ranking battle, was sitting in the Lingxi Martial House's spectator area. Shen Yunqi clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. He hadn't even made it to the finals when he saw Long Qingyang defeat a genius like Yi Wugui. This kind of gap made Shen Yunqi's heart tremble, and at the same time made the audience below the stage sigh. Awesome! Senior brother Qingyang fought beautifully, haha. The students and mentors of the Mammoth Martial House were the first to applaud. The cheers of the entire Sacred Star Empire were followed closely by cheers. Long Qingyang had won the first match for the Sacred Star Empire. In the northern pavilion, Huang Fuhao couldn't help but smile. Sitting beside him, the Saint Empress raised her eyelids slightly with a hint of certainty. But at this moment, another young man with an extraordinary bearing leapt onto the battle stage. Chapter 295. Long Qingyang won the first victory for the Sacred Star Empire. But at the same time, Yi Wugui was stopped at 2 consecutive victories, recalling how Yi Wugui and Lei Yuan had humiliated Long Qingyang, Long Xuanchuang, and the rest in St. Fire City. Long Qingyang naturally wanted to vent his anger. In the next second after Yi Wugui's defeat, a young figure with an extraordinary aura leaped onto the stage. The atmosphere of the entire place instantly became much quieter. Everyone from the Saint Star Empire had a cautious expression on their faces. It was a young man who had rushed out from the Flame Shadow Empire's team. His entire body was emitting a demonic, beast-like aura. It's Tan Shao. Long Qingyang is in trouble. Tan Shao, the second-ranked genius from the Flame Shadow Empire's team. His strength was second only to the leader of the team, Peng Ao. What surprised everyone was that Tan Shao had actually stepped onto the stage so early. I'm also here to settle the score. Tan Zhao's gaze slightly slanted towards Long Qingyang, the corner of his mouth curling into a cold and mocking smile. Below the stage, Chu Hen, Long Xuanchuang, Luo Mingshang, and the rest were slightly stunned. He was most likely referring to how Long Qingyang and Chu Hen had killed Su Shu from the Flame Shadow Empire. Since you understand, then make your move. Tan Zhao's eyes flashed with a cold light. However, Long Qingyang faintly smiled. I'm sorry, but I don't intend to fight consecutively. The moment he said that, the guests from the Flame Shadow Empire immediately booed. What? You don't dare? Are you saying that the people from the Sacred Star Empire are all cowards? Tan Shao mocked, directly belittling the entire Sacred Star Empire team. Huang Fuliang, Lin Yuan, Situ Feng, and the rest in the contestants' area furrowed their brows, looking displeased. If it was a few months ago, your provocation might have worked, but now... Long Qingyang raised his brows, replying disapprovingly, I don't buy it. After his battle with Shen Yunqi, Long Qingyang had learned his lesson. Fighting despite knowing that he couldn't win was not courage, but stupidity. Moreover, Long Qingyang had believed that he would be able to take on Shen Yunqi if he went all out during the Earth List battle. However, the situation this time was different. In the battle with Yi Wugui just now, although he had only used 2 moves, he was still able to defeat Yi Wu Gui. However, those 2 moves had drained almost 2/3 of Long Qingyang's inner yuan. Furthermore, Tan Xiao was much stronger than Yi Wu Gui, so there was no way he could win this battle. Since he was 100% sure that he couldn't win, Long Qingyang wouldn't make the same mistake again. Without another word, Long Qingyang leaped off the stage without looking back. "You've learned your lesson this time?" After returning to the previous place, Long Xuanchuang said with a smile. To be honest, she was really worried that the other party would be provoked into refusing to step down from the stage again. Long Qingyang shook his head with a smile. Contributing to an exciting battle is more than enough. Long Xuanchuang and Chu Hen couldn't help but look at each other. After everything that had happened recently, Long Qingyang's thinking had matured a lot. Since he's a coward, then you get your ass up here." A disdainful and sarcastic voice came from the stage once again. This time, Tan Zhao's spearhead was directly aimed at Chu Hen. Everyone below was stunned. Tan Xiao was really here to settle the score. He actually dared to openly provoke a single person in such an unbridled manner. Seeing Tan Xiao pointing at Chu Hen with a condescending and provocative attitude, the geniuses from the various empires who were about to step onto the stage stopped in their tracks. Everyone loved to watch a show, especially in such a lively occasion with so many people watching. There was no need to say anything more. How did that Chu Hen guy provoke this person again? In the Heavenly Star Marshall House's audience, Mu Feng said with some surprise. Although they didn't know who Tan Xiao was, from the discussions around them, they knew that he was the second-ranked genius of the Flame Shadow team. They also felt that this matter was quite troublesome. "Xiao," Yan rubbed his nose and replied helplessly. "I forgot to mention that during the preliminary round, Chu Hen killed the 5th-ranked Su Shu from the Flame Shadow team. This—" The corner of Mu Feng's eyes twitched uncontrollably. The instructors and students around him were also stunned. Chu Hen, this guy, was truly ruthless. Outside the stage, Yi Yao, Li Hui, Zhou Lu, and the others looked nervously at Chu Hen. Facing Tan Xiao, who was openly provoking him, Chu Hen lightly sniffed, shrugged his shoulders, and said, "Originally, I wanted to watch a few more fights. Since Senior Tan Xiao is so interested, how can I spoil your mood?" "Ha ha ha ha, it's good that you agreed." Along with Tan Zhao's arrogant laughter, a commotion broke out in the audience. "Third brother, don't be too careless. This guy isn't easy to deal with," Long Qingyang said in a low voice. "I will. Good luck. Don't lose." Luo Mengchang casually patted Chu Hen's shoulder. Her faint smile was like a pear blossom reflecting the water. Her bright eyes and white teeth were especially moving. It was just a small gesture from Luo Mengchang, but it shocked the audience in the Sacred Star Empire. It was as if Luo Mengchang had never been so intimate with a man before. F***CK, this bastard really hooked up with Luo Mengchang, the goddess of my dreams. Mu Feng wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He gritted his teeth in hatred. Huang Fuqing, who was watching from the viewing platform, raised her eyebrows and her beautiful eyes rippled. Under the different gazes of the audience, Chu Hen walked steadily and stepped onto the stage in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. The two of them stood opposite each other, and the aura they emitted caused the air to tremble. Feeling the intensity of the aura that was being emitted from Chu Hen's body, the audience outside of the stage were startled and booed in disdain. "It can't be. He's only at the 6th level of the core transformation stage. This is really surprising. Isn't he just courting death? I'm afraid he won't even be able to take one move from Tan Xiao. Senior brother Tan Xiao, kill him." Chu Hen's cultivation level was indeed only at the 6th level of the core transformation stage. However, Tan Zhao's cultivation level had already reached the 8th level of the core transformation stage. For a core transformation stage expert, the gap of 2 stages wasn't something that could be easily made up for. Therefore, in the eyes of the audience, Chu Hen's actions were purely courting death. However, the geniuses from the various empires were looking at the two people on the stage with anticipation. Previously at the Heaven Canyon platform, everyone had witnessed Chu Hen almost kill Wei Qingfan, who was at the 7th level of the core transformation stage, with just one punch. They all knew that Chu Hen's true battle strength was far beyond the 6th level of the core transformation stage. Otherwise, the Flame Shadow team would not have sent Tan Xiao to attack so quickly. The crowd outside the stage was almost one-sided. Of course, there were also many people who supported Chu Hen. However, they were not confident after seeing the difference in cultivation level between the two of them. Are you ready? Tan Zhao's lips curled into an evil smile. Chu Hen slightly raised his eyelids. His expression was especially relaxed. Please enlighten me. It's not really enlightening. Tan Zhao's voice paused. A thick, killing intent suddenly erupted from his playful eyes. His tone also became incomparably cold. I only know that today I will twist your head off. Buzz. As soon as his voice fell, Tan Zhao's 8th level core transformation stage aura completely erupted from his body. With Tan Xiao as the center, a surging fire domain swept out in all directions. The scorching heat wave burned the space, causing it to distort. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the battle stage was directly turned into a burning fire domain. Overbearing scarlet flames spread around Tan Xiao. The endless destructive power caused the heaven and earth to dim a little. When they saw this scene, the people from the Sacred Star Empire could not help but secretly worry for Chu Hen. Even though Chu Hen's performance in the Earth List Great Competition was quite impressive, Tan Zhao's strength was really shocking. Rumble! Scarlet flames danced wildly, like a soaring dragon or a leaping tiger, directly surging towards Chu Hen from the left and right. When Chu Hen's retreat path was sealed, the powerful scarlet flames lingered around Chu Hen's body, forming a ring of rapidly rotating flame vortex. The scarlet flame vortex completely sealed all of Chu Hen's retreat paths. However, there was still not a hint of nervousness on Chu Hen's face. A trace of demonic purple light was released from his body. Stinking brat. Today I will make sure that you will not return. As soon as his voice fell, an even more violent power once again erupted from Tan Zhao's body. In the next instant, the monstrous scarlet flames in front of him spiraled up into the sky. Then, a furious beast roar shook the surroundings. In front of Tan Xiao, a huge creature rose from the fire domain. Everyone's faces changed drastically as they stared at the colossus that was nearly 100 meters long. It was a scarlet flame bear. Its terrifying aura stirred heaven and earth, and the vast and mighty pressure was comparable to a real fierce beast. This was the limit of Tan Zhao's bloodline. Most of the people in the Flame Shadow Empire had a physique with the power of fire. This scarlet flame bear not only had the power of fire, but it also had the violent power of a fierce beast. Its lethality was strong, and its destructive power was great. Using such a powerful attack right from the start, Tan Xiao clearly had the thought of killing Chu Hen in a single strike. Roar! The scarlet flame bear's momentum shook the sky, and it set off an endless destructive attack towards Chu Hen, who was trapped in the flame vortex. Looking at this scene, unsuspecting knight, Qi Teng, Lu Qi, Qin Ying Xiao, Peng Ao, and the other leaders of the Sacred Star Empire had different expressions on their faces. On the contrary, the leader of the Sacred Star Empire, Huang Fuliang, had a sneer on his face. Stinking brat, go to hell! Tan Xiao shouted. Humph! However, a frivolous sneer appeared on Chu Hen's face. In the next instant, a majestic purple light was released, and a pair of purple light wings spread out from his back. The surging purple light wrapped around Chu Hen's body, and it instantly turned into the outline of a divine bird. Chapter 296. Roar! In the face of the huge, raging, violent flame bear, a majestic purple light blossomed from within Chu Hen's body. The surging purple light lingered around Chu Hen's body, along with the pair of light wings on his back. The restless purple light recklessly surged, and the silhouette of a flying, ferocious beast with the outline of a divine bird was on the verge of emerging. Boom! In the next instant, Chu Hen, who was shrouded in the purple divine bird silhouette, directly soared into the sky. His momentum was like a flowing light shuttle that traversed the heavens and earth. With an unstoppable might, he broke through the layers of scarlet flame waves, drawing a bright arc in the sky as he directly slashed towards the violent flame bear in front of him. Shadow wing slash! An astonishingly terrifying might tore through the air, causing layers upon layers of rapidly trembling airwaves. In the process of moving, the might of the purple divine bird silhouette that Chu Hen had transformed into continuously increased. The pair of wings that were spread out continuously expanded, and in the blink of an eye, it had become dozens of meters wide. Boom! In an instant, a deafening violent tremor exploded. Under the tens of thousands of shocked gazes, the purple illusionary figure with its soaring aura collided heavily with the enormous scarlet flame violent bear. This strike was comparable to the collision between a meteorite and a mountain. The intersecting purple and red light directly detonated in all directions. A powerful shockwave spread out, setting off a powerful aftershock that swept towards the spectator seats. Everyone in the spectator seats widened their eyes, but none of them dared to even blink. Rumble. The intense forces collided like a thunderstorm. From afar, the scene in front of them resembled a huge bear tightly hugging a huge purple divine bird. The scarlet flames and purple light constantly collided, causing sparks to fly in all directions. However, at this moment, something astonishing happened. The purple shadow wings were actually filled with traces of black light. The black light that was like black flames attached to the purple shadow wings, rising and burning. In an instant, Chu Hen's aura increased explosively by several times. The powerful shadow wings were like a sky-splitting blade as they directly broke free from the scarlet flame, violent bear's grasp. Following the momentum, they descended in a graceful manner as they slashed apart the scarlet flame, violent bear's enormous body. What? This shocking scene caused countless people to stare with their eyes wide open. All of them turned pale with fright, and their faces were filled with shock. The scarlet flame bear that was slashed apart by the flowing shadow flying wings burst into a ball of fire that soared into the sky. Chu Hen, who was wrapped in the shadow wings, broke through the layers of monstrous fire waves like a hot knife through butter, and finally attacked Tan Xiao, who was in the rear area. You? Tan Xiao turned pale with fright, and his face turned as white as a sheet in an instant. His pupils, which had shrunk to the size of a needle tip, were filled with panic. Boom! With a loud bang, the purple shadow wings were like a blade of flowing light that struck Tan Xiao's body. Endless pressure poured down, and the extremely destructive shadow wings exploded with an intense and dazzling light. Bang! A circle of vigorous and tyrannical power spread out like ripples on water, and countless crisscrossing cracks appeared on the ground. Under such a powerful attack, Tan Xiao's body was continuously pushed back. His feet dragged on the ground, and the stone tiles on the stage crumbled inch by inch. A perfectly straight gully rapidly extended under Tan Xiao's feet. Fresh blood continuously flowed out from Tan Xiao's mouth. A bloody wound rapidly split open on his chest at a speed visible to the naked eye. The moment he was pushed back to the edge of the stage, the veins on Tan Xiao's arms bulged. His eyes hardened as he gritted his teeth and roared. Ah, boom! Tan Xiao's figure paused, and he forcibly stabilized his footsteps. Bastard! I'm going to kill! Before the word you left his mouth, a purple afterimage moved quickly on the table like a ghost. Tan Xiao's heart suddenly trembled. In the next instant, a young face with a cold smile on the corner of his mouth came into his sight. This is the second-ranked genius of the Flame Shadow team. He's really a piece of trash. With a frivolous and disdainful tone, Chu Hen arrived in front of Tan Xiao and spun around with a kick, landing a solid kick on his opponent's face. Bang! A scattered ball of true yuan exploded. Tan Xiao's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. His head had received a heavy blow, and his entire body was sent flying. His mouth was full of broken teeth and dazzling blood. Heavens! This shocking scene caused countless people's brains to buzz, and a huge wave of emotion surged in their hearts. Under thousands of incredulous gazes, Tan Xiao drew a parabola in the air, then smashed into the ground. He was dragged along the ground for more than 10 meters before he finally stopped. In the blink of an eye, Tan Xiao's entire body was covered in blood, and he lay on the ground like a dead dog, unable to move. Shock. Absolute shock. The entire arena fell into a deathly silence. 2 moves. In only 2 moves, the second member of the Flame Shadow team had been directly defeated by Chu Hen. This kind of result was truly unexpected, especially the phrase, "This is the second-ranked genius of the Flame Shadow Empire?" What a waste. It was like a resounding slap to the face of the entire Yan Ying team. Am I dreaming? Mu Feng fiercely swallowed a mouthful of saliva and muttered to himself. Over at the Tensei Prefecture's spectator stands, from the teachers to the students, from the elders to the dean, they were all shocked. With the cultivation of the 6th stage of the core transformation stage, Chu Hen had ended the battle in 2 moves. His not-so-tall body actually contained such a terrifying and domineering power. Tian Luo Yi Not Strange, Misty Wind Lu Qi, Juyen Qi Teng, Sword Dynasty Qi Ning Xiao. All the team leader level geniuses were shocked, especially Flame Shadow Pang Ao, whose narrowed eyes emitted a cold light. This guy? Over at the Saint Star team's side, Giant Elephant Lin Yuan shook his head vigorously. Chu Hen's performance simply made the entire Saint Star team dumbstruck. However, a cold intent surged between Huang Fuyang's brows. He gently let out a sigh of relief as a cold light flashed in his eyes. After a moment of silence, what welcomed them was the earth-shattering, passionate cheers. Perfect! Haha! As expected of our Earth-ranking champion. Chu Hen will definitely win. I have high hopes for you. Just a moment ago, Chu Hen was being booed by many, but now he had ignited the atmosphere in the arena. The audience at the Tensei Prefecture's side was especially excited. Long Qingyang, Long Xuanchuang, Luo Mingshan, and the others were also extremely happy. On the majestic northern pavilion, the Flame Shadow Monarch's expression was different. The one with the ugliest expression was naturally the Flame Shadow Monarch. His team's second-ranked genius had been beaten into a dead dog in 2 moves by a mere Earth-ranking champion. This was truly embarrassing. The Sacred Star Monarch, Huangfu Hao, nodded his head in appreciation. Beside him, Huangfu Qing's beautiful eyes also flashed with a faint light as she inwardly said, "I've been worried for nothing." Compared to them, the Saint Empress's emotions were much calmer. This junior brother Chu Hen is truly capable. Suddenly, a cold voice directly suppressed the atmosphere in the arena. Everyone's hearts skipped a beat as their gazes swept towards the same location. Looking at the arrogant figure slowly walking out from the Flame Shadow team, a cautious look flashed across everyone's eyes. Is Pang Ao going to make a move? It seems so. Huang Fuliang, Yi Unzli, Lu Qi, Qi Teng, and Qi Ning Xiao's faces turned solemn. Pang Ao had no choice but to make a move at this moment. After all, Tan Zhao's defeat would definitely greatly affect the Flame Shadow team's morale. At this moment, they had to make a comeback. Pang Ao had no choice but to make a move. Ta! Pang Ao stepped onto the arena with steady steps. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, as if he wanted to pierce through Chu Hen. In the eyes of most people, this was not a battle between 2 people of the same level. Pang Ao was the leader of a team of the same level as Huang Fuliang, Yi Unsli, and Lu Qi. As for Chu Hen, he was only one of the many participants on the heavenly list. "I'm very happy that you're still standing here." Pang Ao's words were filled with arrogance. Even though he was at the 8th stage of the core transformation stage like Tan Shao. However, Pang Ao had already reached the peak of the 8th stage and was already half a step into the 9th stage, coupled with the bloodline limit of the demonic flame Xian body. His battle prowess was definitely much stronger than Tan Zhao's. "Is Chu Hen really going to fight him?" Bai Yuyue asked in a deep voice. "It seems so," Luo Mingshan replied casually. Long Qingyang and Long Xuanxuang were standing at the side, had grave expressions on their faces. Pang Ao was a super strong leader. Did Chu Hen really have the confidence to fight him? None of them were confident. The atmosphere below the arena was tense and gloomy. The Sacred Star Empire side was not confident, and the Flame Shadow Empire side was not excited either. Even if Pang Ao managed to win back his opponent, it was not something to be happy about. After all, the leaders of the other 5 empires were still below the arena. It's not too late for you to withdraw now. However, I don't want to see you on the arena anymore, Pang Ao said coldly. "Oh, are you asking me to withdraw?" Chu Hen raised his eyebrows. "You can say that." Chapter 297. Make your move. A few indifferent words came out from Chu Hen's mouth. His eyes were as calm as the water in a well, without a single ripple. Everyone in the audience was secretly shocked. This Chu Hen really dared to accept the challenge. In the previous battle, he fought against the second member of the Flame Shadow team. This time, he directly fought against the leader of the Flame Shadow team. As you wish." Before he finished his sentence, Pang Ao instantly dashed out. Swoosh! With a sound, he directly disappeared on the spot. Along with a rapid wind force, Pang Ao crossed a distance of tens of meters in the blink of an eye and arrived in front of Chu Hen in the blink of an eye. He raised his hand and punched towards his opponent's face. Such a shocking speed. Many people in the audience were secretly shocked. The biting cold palm energy whistled like a ferocious tiger. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed and he dodged to the side. However, the opponent's right palm swept past Chu Hen's cheek. The space trembled slightly. The extremely powerful palm energy hit the air and made a loud explosion. Immediately after, a wave of hot air rushed towards Chu Hen. In an instant, Pang Ao's palm was already covered with a layer of strange green flame. Wisps of green flame landed on his hand and swayed, emitting an extremely shocking, scorching aura. "Chu Hen, be careful. That's demonic fire," a member of the Saint Star Empire in the audience kindly reminded. What Pang Ao possessed was the extremely overbearing demonic fire Xian body bloodline limit. There was no doubt that its lethality was strong. The palm wrapped in green flame turned into a palm blade and slashed horizontally towards Chu Hen's throat. However, Chu Hen was already prepared. The Yuan Dan in his body quickly revolved and a ball of surging true yuan surged out from his body. He raised his hand and sent a palm energy towards his opponent. Humph! A sneer appeared on Pang Ao's face. He still maintained his previous attack. The moment Chu Hen's palm energy met the green demonic fire, it was directly incinerated. "Hey, be careful. Don't let my demonic fire touch you. Otherwise, you'll just have to watch as your body turns into ashes." "Thank you for your reminder," Chu Hen replied indifferently. Then he moved his palm. A white light flashed and a sharp spear appeared in his hand. Buzz. The Devil Punisher spear burst out with a dense black radiance, and the biting cold spear aura caused the space to tremble. Chu Hen thrust out his arm, and a series of afterimages appeared in the air. The Devil Punisher spear unstoppably attacked Pang Ao's throat. Pang Ao's eyes turned cold, and a powerful aura rose from his body. He stretched out his left hand, and with a slight tremble, he firmly grasped the tip of the Demon Slayer spear. "Humph, You want to be arrogant in front of me with just this bit of ability. Pang Ao's left hand gripped the demon Punisher's spear tightly. Then he rushed forward and punched out with his right fist, aiming for Chu Hen's head. The moment he punched out, the surging green demonic fire instantly covered Pang Ao's entire arm. The scorching heat caused the space to distort. The green demonic fire gathered on Pang Ao's fist and rotated, forming an extremely violent demonic fireball. The expressions of the spectators below the stage changed when they saw the scene. Pang Ao's demonic fire was famous for being overbearing. If Chu Hen was hit by this punch, the consequences would be very serious. Go to hell. You don't know what you're talking about. However, Chu Hen's face did not show the slightest hint of panic. Facing Pang Ao's menacing attack, Chu Hen also punched out with his left fist. A strange black radiance twined around his fist and danced wantonly, as if it was attached to a layer of underworld fire. Does that guy want to die? He actually dared to take senior brother Pang Ao's demonic fire head-on. His entire arm is going to be crippled. How foolish! In an instant, under the cautious gazes of the crowd, the fist that gathered the green flames collided with the fist that was covered in black radiance. Bang! The violent impact was like the collision of two mountains. The surging power shook the entire stage, and the green and black intersecting ripples spread out between the two. The stone tiles on the platform beneath their feet were completely shattered. Dense cracks spread out in all directions. However, the scene of Chu Hen's arm being devoured by Pang Ao's demonic fire did not happen. The strange black radiance did not show any signs of being defeated under the impact of the green demonic fire. What's going on? What kind of power is that? It can actually resist Pang Ao's demonic fire? Could it be that he is also a Xian, the bloodline limit of the Xian body? Hua! The entire audience was in an uproar. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the layer of strange black radiance that lingered around Chu Hen's body. At the same time, the students and mentors from Tensei Prefecture suddenly remembered something. From the beginning, Chu Hen had never told anyone what the limit of his bloodline was. Now, looking at the strange power that did not seem to be at a disadvantage under Pang Ao's demonic fire, everyone naturally thought that Chu Hen should have the limit of the Xian body bloodline. Before everyone could recover from their shock, something even more shocking happened. Wang. With a trembling sound, Chu Hen's aura rose sharply once again. With an explosive bang, the cyan-colored flame on Pang Ao's fist suddenly exploded. What? The expressions of the audience changed drastically again. Chu Hen's power had actually surpassed Pang Ao's. A hidden force that was like a torrent burst out from Chu Hen's fist. Pang Ao was slightly shocked. When the huge force entered his body, his left hand quickly released the body of the demon Punisher spear. Then he moved his body and used the force to retreat. Chu Hen took advantage of the situation to pursue and attack. The demon Punisher spear moved straight down, and a dazzling spear shadow chased after Pang Ao like a storm. The astonishingly sharp spear momentum triggered the rolling power of wind and thunder. Pang Ao frowned. Then, the green demonic fire that lingered around his body quickly gathered behind him, forming a pair of green flaming wings. The flaming wings unfolded. Swoosh! Pang Ao directly left an afterimage on the ground. He leaped up and flashed tens of meters into the sky. Humph! Stinking brat, I have underestimated you. As soon as he finished speaking, Pang Ao's aura increased explosively by several times. With a wave of his hand, cyan fireballs rained down from the sky, covering the sky and earth as they pounced towards Chu Hen below. The green fireball rain was very dense and had a wide range. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and a cold light flashed in the corner of his eyes. Immediately, an astonishing and cold aura rose from his body. He raised the demon Punisher spear and released a brilliant purple light like the sun. Spirit shock, spear rain. In an instant, countless purple spear shadows met and collided with the green fireballs that fell from the sky. The gorgeous scene continuously stimulated the audience's vision. The high-altitude collision between the spear shadows and the fiery rain was like a blooming firework in the sky. The chaotic aftershock of the power burst out wantonly. At this moment, the ability that Chu Hen displayed truly caused countless people to exclaim in their hearts. A few months ago, he won the Earth List Championship. A few months later, he also shone in the Heaven List Championship. Who would have thought that such an outstanding genius would be rejected by nearly 30 high-ranked martial houses more than a year ago? In the end, the Tensei Prefecture picked up such a bargain for nothing. Even if Chu Hen lost this battle, no one would dare to look down on him. Bang! The confrontation between the fireballs and the spear rain caused a heavy and intense explosion in the sky. Layer upon layer of scorching waves of air suffused the entire sky above the arena. Right at this moment, the azure flames around Pang Ao's body surged and surged like the tide, and he shouted out loudly in a grim voice, "Demonic flame shower! Buzz, buzz!" In the next moment, the endless green flames became abnormally restless, covering the sky and rolling violently. What followed closely was the dense killing intent. The densely packed green fire arrow rain once again fell from the sky, sweeping up an unstoppable and terrifying power, attacking Chu Hen. Compared to the green fireballs from before, the power of this rain of arrows was several times stronger. Numerous sharp and slender arrows were condensed from the demon flames. They were like the flying arrows of light that traced back thousands of years, extremely destructive and lethal. Countless vigorous air waves were dragged in the air. The momentum was shocking. Looking at Pang Ao's attack, the geniuses from the various teams were secretly shocked. Even Huang Fuliang, Not Strange Knight, Lu Qi Tang, and Qining Xiao had a slightly solemn look in their eyes. The spectators of the Sacred Star Empire all had their hearts in their throats. They were secretly sweating for Chu Hen. While they were amazed by Pang Ao's strength, they were also looking forward to how Chu Hen was going to escape from this 1,000 arrows rain. The range of the green arrow rain was extremely wide, covering more than half of the arena. There was almost no place for Chu Hen to hide. Of course, he didn't have any intention of hiding. A sharp light flashed in Chu Hen's eyes, and a soaring aura rose from his body. Along with a bright and dazzling light, a bright seal rune that was as bright as glass suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen. This seal was green, and it was shining brightly. "It's the Gale Seal!" Following the exclamations that came from the audience seats, a fierce and rapid gale suddenly raged around Chu Hen. The raging airflow wantonly danced, and sharp wind blades filled the sky as they flew around randomly. Is he going to use the wind blades to fight against the arrow rain? Just when everyone was puzzled, swoosh! With an earth-shaking sound, a towering water curtain rose from all directions around Chu Hen without any warning. A second before the water curtain that soared to the sky enveloped Chu Hen, everyone clearly saw the appearance of another bright rune. That's the water seal. The Gale Seal and the water seal were activated at the same time, releasing a powerful force in an instant with Chu Hen's location as the center. A vast and mighty whirlpool of water was formed. The enormous whirlpool of wind and water fused together. Within the whirlpool of water, there were wind blades mixed in. Under the influence of the wind blades, the whirlpool's rotation speed was incomparably strange. The airflow in all directions was stirred. Chapter 298. Rumble! The tornado formed by the fusion of wind blades and water power set off a terrifying, raging aura. Subsequently, it swept towards the rain of green demonic fire arrows with the power to wipe out an army of 1,000. The shocking aura stirred up the airflow in all directions. Heaven and earth quietly changed color. Waves of cold and hot intertwining air rolled out from the stage toward the surrounding audience seats. The tornado that enveloped Chu Hen was terrifying. The water was mixed with wind blades, and the wind blades were mixed with water power. It was like a dragon swaying its huge body. Boom! Even though the rain of demonic fire arrows was dense and fierce, under the sweeping of the tornado, they were all stopped in their tracks. The wind and rain whirlpool continued to devour the demonic fire arrows. Water and fire blended together, causing clouds of white mist to rise in the air. Looking at the move that Chu Hen had displayed, everyone in the spectator seats exclaimed in surprise. Apart from the experts of the Misty Wind Empire, not many people could use the combination of wind and water power as well as Chu Hen. Chu Hen can actually merge two types of rune inscriptions together? This guy. I know that he could merge water and fire rune inscriptions in the past. It seems like he has secretly researched many new moves. Amazing. Many young geniuses of the Sacred Star Empire were secretly impressed. Compared to the geniuses of the other 5 empires, they were relatively more familiar with Chu Hen's past. From the day he stepped into the imperial city as a new student until now, the changes that had taken place could not be said to be small. As the battle between Chu Hen and Pang Ao reached this moment, everyone's faces were filled with solemnity. Even the rulers of the 6 great dynasties on the Northern Pavilion were obviously much more serious than before, especially the Flame Shadow Sovereign King. He really couldn't afford to lose. If Pang Ao lost again, he could directly announce the elimination of the Flame Shadow Empire. It was a small matter whether they could take control of the ruins of the 7 Souls ancient kingdom. After all, it had been so many years, and the resources of the 7 Souls ancient kingdom were almost depleted. Even if they were to be eliminated, they definitely couldn't be the first to be eliminated. Pang Ao, who was hovering in the air above the arena, naturally knew the importance of winning this match. I will definitely not lose. Pang Ao clenched his teeth. His eyes were red with anger, as if they were about to spit fire. He looked down at Chu Hen, who was in the whirlpool of water and wind, as if he had launched an absolute defense, protecting him from all directions, without the slightest gap or loophole. This kind of move is nothing to me, Pang Ao. Brat, you won't be able to defeat me. Buzz, buzz. Along with Pang Ao's furious roar, endless cyan demonic flames instantly erupted like a torrent of water. With him as the center, the overwhelming flames spread out in all directions. The powerful aura that was constantly rising enveloped the entire stage, causing everyone in the spectator stands to feel a powerful pressure. The scorching flames roasted the world, and everyone felt as if they were standing next to a furnace. Everyone present frowned and felt shocked in their hearts. Obviously, Pang Ao was going to use his trump card. Rumble! The heavy sound of thunder lingered in the ears. In the next moment, the cyan demonic flames that covered the sky and earth rapidly converged together, and the huge pressure became more and more shocking. Following that, a huge shadow of a demonic tiger suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. This was a demonic tiger with a pair of wings on its back, and its entire body was covered with cyan fur. The body of the beast, which was more than 100 meters wide, was like a mountain above everyone's head. Pang Ao was in the belly of the demonic tiger shadow, and his entire body was emitting a demonic beast's ferocious aura. Roar! The huge demonic tiger opened its mouth wide and made a posture of pouncing down, letting out a domineering roar. This roar was filled with the ferocious aura of a ferocious beast. The terrifying, ferocious aura pressed down, causing the eardrums of the spectators below to hurt. At the same time, the whirlpool of water and wind that enveloped Chu Hen directly exploded. Bang! The mighty whirlpool was suppressed by the ferocious aura of the demonic tiger, and messy wind blades and water currents splashed wantonly. The young figure with an extraordinary bearing reappeared in everyone's sight. However, based on the current situation, it was not something that Chu Hen could relax about. Facing the cyan demonic tiger hovering in the sky, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and a few rays of cold light flashed in the corner of his eyes. Hee-hee-ha! Pang Ao laughed maniacally. Brat, don't think too highly of yourself. Today, I'll let you know what the real gap is. Roar. As soon as he finished speaking, the roar of the demonic tiger shook the hearts of the spectators once again. Immediately, the domineering demonic tiger stretched out its right claw that was as huge as a palace, and directly pressed down on Chu Hen below. The unstoppable pressure was like a mountain covering the top, and the strong wind stacked up. An incomparably chaotic airflow filled every corner of the competition area. Oh no, Chu Hen can't hide anymore. A genius from the Sacred Star team blurted out. The spectators from the Sacred Star Empire also felt their hearts tighten, and their faces were filled with a grave expression. However, looking at the demonic tiger's huge claw that was constantly pressing down, Chu Hen's eyes did not show the slightest bit of panic. He instantly activated the flaming sun body tempering technique. In an instant, a surging illusory flame suddenly bloomed from within Chu Hen's body. The gorgeous illusory flame was like a resplendent halo that lingered outside the stars. The skin on Chu Hen's body faintly emitted a crystal-clear luster, and the violent aura that was like that of a ferocious beast soared into the sky. Boom! An incomparably heavy and violent explosion erupted in the center of the fighting ring. Rocks of all sizes exploded continuously, and a large area of the fighting ring caved in. A violent and vigorous wave of air spread out on the arena, and the strong power swept away thousands of soldiers. Countless rocks were instantly crushed by the residual power. The spectators' hearts were in their throats. When they saw the scene in front of them, everyone's eyes couldn't help but tremble. They saw an incomparably huge claw pit suddenly appear on the arena. The huge green demonic tiger's right claw pressed on the arena, and its ferocious aura was terrifying. However, what shocked everyone was that the demonic tiger's huge claw did not completely press on the ground. Under the huge claw, a young figure surrounded by illusory flames slightly bent his knees, and both his hands were resisting the demonic tiger's huge claw as though he was holding up a mountain. Oh my God! He blocked it! Everyone's eyes widened when they saw the scene in front of them. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Did Chu Hen forcefully block Pang Ao's frightening attack with his body alone? At this moment, even Huang Fuliang, Yibu Gui, Lu Qi, the few of them could no longer maintain their composure. Even the emperors of the 6 great dynasties who were on the pavilion in the north were surprised. Just what kind of power did that body, which wasn't that tall or sturdy, possess? Just how strong was Chu Hen's fleshly body? Below the arena, Long Xuanxuang, Long Qingyang, and Luo Mingshang all had solemn expressions on their faces, and they were secretly worried for Chu Hen. Buzz buzz! Pang Ao continued to release a powerful pressure after failing to crush Chu Hen with one attack. Crack! The ground beneath Chu Hen's feet that was already cracking like a spider's web began to crumble inch by inch. His knees trembled slightly, and the veins on his forehead and arms bulged. Chu Hen, hang in there! Long Qingyang shouted. Everyone's heartstrings were stretched taut, and their palms were sweating. Big brother Chu Hen. Yi Yao bit her red lips from the mammoth Marshall House's spectator stand, and her small hands gripped the corner of her clothes so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Hee hee ha ha. Pang Ao laughed wantonly. You can't hold on any longer. It's over. Roar. The demon tiger once again revealed its ferocious rage, and under the terrifying pressure, the entire arena shook. Hee hee. Suddenly, a cold smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. Indeed, it's time to end this. What? Boom! In the next moment, an even more powerful aura exploded from Chu Hen's body, and the illusory flames that surrounded his body were like the aftershocks of a star's explosion. Rise! Chu Hen fiercely roared. The rubble beneath his body completely shattered as an incomparably violent energy rippled out. Under countless gazes that were filled with disbelief, The gigantic demon tiger's claw that was suppressing Chu Hen was forcibly lifted high into the air. Heavens! What? Not waiting for the audience to recover from their shock, Chu Hen, who had escaped from the pressure of the huge claw, instantly unfurled a pair of bright purple wings. Swoosh! A swift and fierce shadow shot up, and Chu Hen instantly reached a height of nearly 100 meters. Buzz! An incomparably surging aura exploded from Chu Hen's body, and the wind and clouds were unstable. The heaven and earth were dark, and a piercingly cold, murderous aura swept across the entire arena. Accompanying the trembling of space, a huge, gray, demonic figure condensed and appeared behind Chu Hen in an instant. Is it that move? The guests of the Sacred Star dynasty all clenched their fists, and their hearts trembled. Whoosh! The swift and fierce demon slayer spear appeared in Chu Hen's hands again. Buzz! Bursts of black cyclones quickly gathered in the demon shadow's right palm, and a domineering and extraordinary spear shadow immediately appeared between heaven and earth. A series of power transformations were completed in an instant. Just as Pang Ao was about to carry out the next round of attacks, Chu Hen had already left his original position. He leaped out, and with a diving posture, he rushed towards the giant demon tiger below. In the process of moving, Chu Hen raised the black spear above his head and held the spear body tightly with both hands. And the domineering demon shadow behind him also raised the spear shadow in its hands above its head. Like a spear, boundless, terrifying power pressed down on Pang Ao. Pang Ao's face changed, and before he could complete any defense, the 100-meter-long black spear shadow had already torn through the air and whistled towards him. Soul-shaking kill. Boom! The space shook violently. Under the shocked gazes of the audience, the cold spear shadow in the hands of the demon shadow behind Chu Hen directly pierced into the head of the green demon tiger. The domineering black spear shadow was unstoppable, and as it continued to descend, it pierced through the huge body of the demon tiger. Immediately after, Chu Hen rapidly descended, and the demon Punisher spear, which was surrounded by astonishing power, was like a sharp arrow shuttling through the green flames. It was unstoppable and split apart the waves. In an instant, it pierced through the body of the green demon tiger and directly into its abdomen, rushing towards Pang Ao. As you wish, it's over. A cold smile appeared on Chu Hen's face. Pang Ao's face changed drastically, and his pupils, which had shrunk to the size of a needle, reflected the black spear that was flying towards him. Everyone's face also changed drastically, and they could only watch as the demon Punisher spear in Chu Hen's hand fell towards the other party. Bang! Everyone's heart felt as if it had been hit by a heavy hammer. The demon Punisher spear, which was swallowing and spitting black light, directly hit Pang Ao's chest. A black light beam directly pierced through the other party's body like a sharp arrow and swept out from his back. Pang Ao's body violently trembled, and at the same time a large mouthful of blood continuously spurted out from his mouth. The warm and bright blood wantonly danced in the air. Chapter 299. Bang! The soul-shocking demon slayer spear, which was engulfed in a domineering black light, slammed into Pang Ao's chest. In the next instant, a black beam of light pierced through Pang Ao's body and came out from his back. Warm and dazzling blood splattered in the air. Along with a mournful shriek, a powerful shockwave rippled across the world. Pang Ao was like a bird that had been struck down by gravity, falling diagonally from the sky. Large mouthfuls of blood continuously spurted out from his mouth. His powerful aura rapidly retracted, and he instantly became extremely dispirited. Bang! Pang Ao fell heavily on the ground, smashing a deep pit. Blood continuously flowed out from his mouth. On his chest there was a shocking bloody hole, and the blood that flowed out dyed a large area of his chest red. That powerless and pale face was filled with unwillingness and hatred. Lost. Pang Ao was completely defeated. At this moment, countless people felt a chill run down their spines. All of the Flame Shadow Team's guests and geniuses felt their hearts drop to the bottom of an abyss. Pang Ao's defeat undoubtedly announced the Flame Shadow Team's early elimination. On the majestic pavilion in the north, the Flame Shadow Sovereign King's face was ashen. His tightly knitted eyebrows were like two dead silkworms. The other emperor's expressions were also slightly solemn. No one expected that accidents would happen one after another. One was Tan Shao, and the other was Pang Ao. The two strongest members of the Flame Shadow Team were consecutively defeated by the same person. If this person was the leader of a certain dynasty's team, it would be fine. However, the name Chu Hen was a name that not many people in other dynasties had heard before. Looking at Pang Ao, who was lying on the ground, unable to move, and whose aura was extremely dispirited after being defeated by Chu Hen, the entire place was deathly silent, including Huang Fuliang, Yi Wu Gui, Qi Tang, Lu Qi, Qining Shao, and the other geniuses. The way they looked at Chu Hen changed. Boom! After a short period of silence, cheers erupted from the audience. Haha, senior brother Chu Hen is so cool. Li Hui, Mu Feng, Zhou Lu, and the others from Tensei Prefecture went crazy. Chu Hen is mighty. Chu Hen is the strongest. Congratulations on winning 2 consecutive victories. The audience of the Sacred Star Empire applauded and cheered. The battle between the 6 empires was enough to make Chu Hen win the cheers of the entire audience. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Chu Hen had single-handedly eliminated the entire Flame Shadow Team. Mother, look at Chu Hen's ability at such a young age. It's truly rare. Once the heavenly ranking battle is over, I'll definitely reward him properly, Sacred Star Sovereign Huangfu Hao said to the Divine Empress beside him. The Divine Empress lifted her eyelids slightly and replied indifferently, My son, it's still too early to be happy. It's only the 5th round of the competition. Huangfu Hao's enthusiasm was immediately suppressed by the Divine Empress's casual words. He forced a smile and said, Mother is right. I've lost my composure. Princess Huangfu Qing saw this scene, but she could only shake her head inwardly. However, Chu Hen's performance was indeed out of Huangfu Qing's expectations. In just a few short months, Chu Hen was already comparable to the leaders of the 6 great teams. To the Sacred Star Empire team, this was definitely something worth celebrating. Swoosh! Under the cheers of the audience, the purple light wings behind Chu Hen retracted as he steadily landed on the stage. Just at this moment, a tall and robust figure leaped onto the arena. He, Qi Tang of the Boulder Empire. Please enlighten me, junior brother Chu Hen. Qi Tang, the leader of the Boulder Empire team, was a top-notch genius with the golden sand body bloodline boundary. Hua! In an instant, the entire arena was once again filled with noise and commotion. *CK, it can't be. Why don't we take turns? Mu Feng shouted in dissatisfaction. Tan Shao, Pang Ao, and now Qi Tang, one by one, the top-notch geniuses came to challenge Chu Hen. This more or less caused the people of the Sacred Star Empire to feel repulsed. However, in reality, it was precisely because of Chu Hen's strength that the geniuses of the other dynasties had no choice but to be cautious. Currently, Chu Hen had eliminated the entire Flame Shadow team by himself. The Sacred Star Empire team obviously had the upper hand. At this time, it was completely necessary to suppress their morale. Since Pang Ao had been defeated, the only ones who had the ability to suppress Chu Hen were the few leaders, and Qi Ting, who could not help but attack Chu Hen first. Previously, in the preliminary round, Chu Hen and Qi Ting did not have any direct contact. The only time they met was in the secluded valley for a short while. In terms of aura and deterrence, Qi Ting was slightly stronger than Pang Ao. I'm sorry, I need to rest for a while, Chu Hen said calmly. This decision was not surprising. In Chu Hen's opinion, There was no need to fight 3 rounds consecutively, especially against such strong opponents. Oh, you're not fighting? Chi Tung raised his eyebrows and said with interest, I thought you would agree. Hee, you think too highly of me. Chu Hen replied modestly. After that, he no longer paid any attention to him. He resolutely turned around and walked down the arena. What welcomed him was an earth-shattering round of applause. You're not hurt, are you? Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang, and the rest went up to him. Chu Hen smiled. No. You brat. Why didn't you tell us that you're so strong? You made us worry for nothing. Long Qingyang raised his hand and punched Chu Hen's shoulder. Chu Hen smiled and shook his head, not saying much. Not bad. You're stronger than I thought. Luo Mingshang's beautiful eyes had a slight smile. Yes, thank you for the compliment, great beauty Luo, Chu Hen joked. You're welcome, you're welcome. Luo Mingshang raised her wrist and waved her hand. Many people were envious of Chu Hen and Luo Mingshang's familiarity. However, since Chu Hen chose to rest, Chi Tung became the new defender of the arena. With such a powerful obstacle in their way, most of the participants immediately gave up on the idea of going up on stage to show off their skills. The audience looked at Not Cunning, Huang Fuliang, Lu Qi, and Qin Yingxiao. The heavenless competition of the 6 nations seemed to have reached the final showdown. Which one of you wants to fight? Qi Ting provoked them in a domineering manner. Not Cunning crossed his arms in front of him and rubbed his chin with one hand. He did not intend to fight immediately. Huang Fuliang stood quietly with a frivolous smile on his face. Humph! Qin Yingxiao sneered and raised his sword. However, at that moment, Lu Qi from the Misty Wind group stepped forward first. Wow, the crowd was not as calm as before. It's Misty Wind group, Lu Qi. Interesting. The difference between the two of them is huge. You're talking about their appearance, right? Chi Tang was 2 meters tall and looked mighty. He was the symbol of absolute power. Lu Qi, on the other hand, gave off a soft and delicate feeling. She had an extremely innocent and beautiful face and a pair of big, watery eyes. She looked like a weak little girl. However, everyone knew that no one dared to treat her as a harmless little girl. In the end, they would not even have a place to cry. F***CK. Chi Tung cursed. Lu Qi, who walked onto the arena, widened his eyes and looked extremely innocent. Senior brother Chi Tung, why are you scolding me? Can you go down? I don't want to fight you. No, I'm already up here. If I go down, I'll forfeit. Can you stop pretending, you stinking bitch? Just looking at your face makes me feel uncomfortable. Why are you scolding me again? I'm not only going to scold you, but I'm also going to kill you. Chi Tang was truly enraged by those 2 short sentences. Without a second word, he charged towards the other party. The audience shook their heads. It seemed that Chi Ting had suffered a lot in Lu Qi's hands. The best way to deal with this kind of woman was to not talk to her. Otherwise, he would be played to death sooner or later. Earth tooth crack! Chi Ting shouted. Surging true essence was released from his body, and in the next instant, sharp earth spikes rapidly drilled out of the ground, extending towards Lu Qi at an extremely fast speed. Lu Qi raised her beautiful eyes, and a trace of seriousness flashed across her eyes. Waterblade, shockwave. Buzz! A surging wave of water surged out from behind her. The mighty water wave swept out like a ferocious beast. The earth spikes on the ground were all cut off by the water shockwave. His first move was such an astonishing attack, and he didn't even try to probe his opponent. This Lu Qi was really a troublesome person. The fierce torrent flattened the earth spikes on the ground and continued to attack Chi Tung. Senior brother Chi Tung, be careful. My water is poisonous. You'll be finished if you touch it. Lu Qi kindly reminded him. Humph. Chi Tung snorted coldly and waved his hand. A golden light was released from his body. The golden light shone with a clear luster. It was not pure true energy, but it was mixed with fine golden sand. Chu Hen, who had returned to the contestants' area, raised his eyebrows and his eyes lit up. Lu Qi's bloodline limit was water, soul, mystic body. Qi Tang's bloodline limit was golden, sand, mystic body. The density and weight of golden sand was greater than that of ordinary sand. This meant that Qi Ting was not only strong, but his defense was also very shocking. This made Chu Hen a little confused. Why would Lu Qi take the initiative to choose such a strong opponent? Boom! The golden sand formed a shield that blocked the rapid flow of water. Then, Qi Tang raised his right arm, and the surrounding golden sand quickly gathered into a huge arm. Qi Tang spread his 5 fingers, and the golden sand hand brought up an unstoppable force as it reached toward Lu Qi. Chapter 300. The finals of the Six Nations Heaven Ranking Tournament had taken a turn for the worse. With the elimination of Flame Shadow's team, it could be said that the battle had entered the second half of the tournament. The leader of Giant Rock's team, Qi Tang, was defending, while the leader of Misty Wind's team, Lu Qi, was fighting. The strongest members of the two teams were already engaged in an intense battle. Sand-binding hand. Rumble. Fine golden sand surrounded Qi Tang's body. The golden light was so bright that it looked like golden powder. He raised his right arm, and a huge golden sand hand moved toward Lu Qi with an unstoppable aura. The giant golden sand hand moved extremely quickly, and its mighty aura was like that of an earth demon. Lu Qi's pretty face froze, and a hint of solemnity appeared in her large, innocent eyes. Whoosh! Lu Qi's feet moved, and she immediately retreated backwards. The giant golden sand hand chased after her, and its speed increased. Water ripple, net trap. Seeing that she couldn't avoid the giant golden sand hand, Lu Qi immediately unleashed a powerful secret technique. She raised her slender, white hands, as if plucking the strings of a zither. Immediately after, 10 slender threads flew out from her fingertips. Every thread was crystal clear, like silk. Under the sunlight, they shone with a beautiful luster. Whoosh, whoosh! The slender silk thread flew out and entangled the huge golden sand hand in an instant. Hum! With a slight tremble, the golden sand hand forcibly stopped in its tracks. What shocking tenacity! Everyone in the arena was secretly shocked. Every single one of those crystal-clear threads seemed to contain a tremendous amount of power. The beautiful water ripple constantly wrapped around the golden sand hand and then quickly tightened. Immediately after, bang! There was an explosion and golden sand rained down from the sky. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the giant golden sand hand was crushed by the thin water ripple. Such powerful destructive power! Chu Hen, who was standing in the contestant area, narrowed his eyes, and a hint of shock appeared on his face. If it had been someone else, they would have been torn to pieces in an instant. As the leader of the Misty Wind team, Lu Qi's face was indeed used to deceive people. Humph! Qi Tang's eyes turned cold when he saw that his opponent had easily neutralized his attack. With a cold snort, a powerful aura erupted from his body once again. Sand and stone rain. Phew! The fierce wind suddenly rose, and the golden sand rain that covered the sky and the ground instantly swept toward Lu Qi. Every grain of sand was a hidden weapon that could take one's life. They were fine, sharp, and full of destructive power. Lu Qi didn't panic as the large-scale attacks came crashing down. She raised her eyebrows slightly, and a stream of clear spring water flowed from her back along her arm to her fingertips. Buzz! With a flick of Lu Qi's finger, the stream of clear spring water flew out and spread in the air in front of her, forming a huge water screen. Chi-chi! The golden sand rushed toward the water screen. But once it entered the clear spring water, its offensive power decreased sharply. It was as if it had fallen into a quagmire, and it couldn't penetrate the layer of barrier. Humph! At the same time, Chi Ting had already left his original position and aggressively rushed in front of Lu Qi. His right hand turned into a rock fist, and he fiercely smashed it toward the layer of water screen. Break! Bang! The terrifying fist energy contained the power to split mountains and split the earth. It was more than 10,000 kilograms, and the layer of water screen was directly smashed into pieces. The incomparably solid rock fist continued downward, and its offensive power did not decrease as it continued to smash toward Lu Qi. Beautiful, senior brother Chi Tung. The geniuses of the giant rock team couldn't help but praise. However, Lu Qi was already prepared for this. In an instant, a pair of sparkling blue wings spread out behind her. When the wings spread, Lu Qi directly left the ground and flew into the sky. Buzz! The powerful rock fist passed under Lu Qi's feet and hit the air, causing a loud explosion. Everyone below the stage raised their heads to look at the sky. Lu Qi's body was surrounded by clear spring water, and her pair of blue wings made her already ethereal temperament even more dreamy and beautiful. Senior brother Chi Ting, you scared me to death. Is it really okay to be so fierce? Lu Qi said innocently. Shut up. You're such a torturous little devil. No one would be able to resist such a delicate and soft little girl. Even though everyone knew that Lu Qi wasn't someone to be trifled with, there were still many people whose hearts almost melted when they saw her pitiful eyes. Lu Qi lightly pursed her lips and looked unhappy. Are you scolding me again? I already said, don't act cute and pitiful in front of me. Chi Ting couldn't stand her at all, and his head was full of anger. Boom! Before he finished speaking, Chi Ting roared in anger, and a powerful aura erupted. Earth Dragon enters the sky. In an instant, a spiral-shaped rock pillar shot out from the ground, and it swept up a powerful destructive force toward Lu Qi in the sky. The rock pillar was extremely fast, and it instantly shot up to a height of 100 meters. Lu Qi drew an afterimage in the air, and she quickly dodged it. Wow, that was close. That scared me to death. Boom! Then a second huge rock pillar shot up into the sky. It was also extremely powerful, and it looked like a giant dragon that broke out of the ground. Immediately after, under the cautious and shocked gazes of the audience, stone pillars that shot into the sky continuously rose from the arena, one after another. Lu Qi was like a nimble butterfly, and she dodged Chi Ting's continuous fierce attacks. Every time he dodged the attack from the stone pillar, Lu Qi would say something innocent, such as, "It's too scary," or "I almost hit it." However, she looked so innocent and naive, giving people the feeling that Chi Ting was bullying her. This infuriated Chi Ting and made him furious. I already told you to shut up. Why are you still talking so much nonsense? Rumble. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 rock pillars shot up into the sky. The aura of each rock pillar was especially majestic. The audience shook their heads. Although Chi Ting's attacks were fierce and powerful, they did not seem to have much effect after so long. On the other hand, Lu Qi was able to save a lot of true core strength. That's strange. Why is senior brother Chi Ting so impulsive today? A genius from the giant rock team asked in confusion. I don't know. Usually, senior brother Chi Ting would not be so angry over such a small matter. I've never heard of him having any conflicts with the Misty Wind team before. The geniuses from the other teams were watching the battle with the mentality of watching a show. No matter what, the more intense the battle, the better. On the northern pavilion, the sovereigns of the 6 great dynasties watched the intense battle in front of them with different emotions. At this moment, a faint smile appeared on the handsome face of the Tianluo sovereign. He glanced sideways at the only female sovereign, the Misty Wind Lord. Hee, Misty Wind Sovereign, that leader Xiaoye is your disciple, right? As soon as he said this, the other sovereigns also looked at the Misty Wind Lord. The latter raised her slender eyebrows slightly. Why do you say that, Tian Luo sovereign? Nothing. I'm just asking. Oh, this sovereign is so gentle. How could I have such a disciple? Gentle? As soon as these two words came out, the corners of the sovereign's eyes twitched. Thinking back to when the Misty Wind Lord was still a young girl, she was also a famous witch in the 100 Nations province. She was even more famous than Lu Qi. Later on, when she became the ruler of the Misty Wind dynasty, she slowly began to restrain herself. However, it had absolutely nothing to do with the word gentle. Compared to the other dynasties, the rules of the Misty Wind dynasty were very different. The other dynasties passed the throne to the princes, but the Misty Wind dynasty passed the throne to the strongest person in the imperial family. Whether it was the prince or the princess, strength was everything. Even the collateral branches of the imperial family had the opportunity to participate in the election for the throne. This system of inheritance in the Misty Wind dynasty was very rare. Of course, the facts proved that the women in the Misty Wind dynasty were not inferior to the men in power. The battle on the stage was getting more and more intense. At this moment, there were nearly 200-meter-tall stone pillars that towered into the sky on the arena. However, from the beginning to the end, not a single stone pillar hit Lu Qi. Senior brother Qi, you must be tired. If you're tired, then rest for a while. I promise I won't secretly attack you. Lu Qi smiled sweetly, looking adorable and cute. However, when the audience heard her words, the corners of their eyes could not help but twitch. She had already gathered a powerful force of water around her, and the clear spring in her palm was surging with extremely violent energy fluctuations. What did she mean by lying to you without any discussion? She was right in front of them. Humph, you stupid girl, you don't say what you mean. Qi Teng scolded coldly. How am I saying what I mean? Just rest. I said I won't secretly attack you, but I didn't say I won't openly attack you. Lu Qi retorted. Her self-righteous manner was both infuriating and funny. Ha! Qi Teng sneered. Unfortunately, you won't get the chance. Rumble, as soon as he finished speaking. Something that made everyone even more astonished happened. Along with a series of thunderous explosions, the 20 earthen walls and stone pillars that stood on the martial battle stage were instantly blasted apart, layer by layer crumbling into dust. The scene of 2,100-meter tall stone pillars exploding at the same time was extremely spectacular. Everyone's heart trembled at his words. Could it be? In an instant, a dense golden rain of sand poured out of the shattered stone pillars. The golden rain of sand was like a sandstorm that instantly swept up from all directions, surging toward Lu Qi, who was surrounded. Oh my God! That guy hid the golden sand inside the stone pillars. Chapter 301. The 2,000-meter-tall stone pillars exploded simultaneously, and the dense golden sand rain formed a raging sandstorm in the air above the arena. The golden sand swept toward Lu Qi from all directions and angles. Humph, stupid girl. Do you really think that I've lost my mind because of you? Qi Teng was no longer as violent as before, and his aura had become much calmer. Seeing this scene, everyone below the stage was greatly surprised. It turned out that from the beginning, Qi Teng had purposely acted as if he was furious and angry. In the eyes of others, Qi Teng was very likely to lose the match because of his anger. But in fact, this was Qi Teng's intention. He wanted to make his opponent careless so that he could secretly prepare a trump card. Rumble, the golden sand rain instantly engulfed Lu Qi. Qi Teng raised his hands high, controlling the power of the golden sand to launch powerful attacks. The overwhelming sand rain quickly gathered in the center of the arena, and the scene looked like thousands of sand rivers flowing towards one place. The fine sand and stones piled up together, forming a seamless stone wall. Golden Sand Demon Tower. Qi Teng shouted. Buzz, buzz. In just a few blinks of an eye, a huge triangular pyramid suddenly appeared above everyone's head with a majestic aura. Hiss, looking at the pyramid suspended in the sky, the audience could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Everyone's faces were filled with deep amazement and surprise. The huge triangular pyramid was more than 100 meters tall, and it appeared extremely three-dimensional in front of everyone. Golden light flashed, and the waves sparkled. From the narrow tip of the pyramid to the wide body, there was not the slightest gap. The fine golden sand piled up together, but there was not a single wind hole. Lu Qi was trapped just like that. The audience was silent. Countless people's hearts were in their throats, and their nerves were stretched taut. They did not even dare to blink as they stared at the majestic pyramid. Did that woman lose? Long Qingyang's eyes narrowed as he murmured softly, "It seems so." Long Xuanshuang's red lips parted slightly as she replied. Luo Mengchang shook her head. Not necessarily. The few of them were all slightly astonished. Chu Hen lightly wrinkled his brows, his gaze unmoving as he stared at the huge pyramid. Boom! Suddenly, a heavy explosion sounded in the sky. The stone wall on one side of the pyramid suddenly bulged. Then, a white pillar of water suddenly pierced through the impenetrable body of the pyramid. What? Looking at the pillar of water that had pierced through the golden sand pagoda, everyone's expression changed. Even the emperors of the dynasties in the northern pavilions had serious expressions on their faces. Bang! Soon after, another pillar of water pierced through the stone wall of the pyramid. Extremely restless energy, ripples, surged out from within the pyramid. Everyone present could not help but feel their hearts tremble. Water column. A clear and cold voice came from the inside of the pyramid. In an instant, countless white water columns pierced through the golden sand tower, and the dazzling brilliance was like the light of the sun breaking through the clouds in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the body of the enormous pyramid had already been penetrated by hundreds of water pillars. Heaven and earth lost color, and the wind and clouds surged. Boom! The pyramid was like an exploding star, and countless water columns bloomed from within it. The mighty power swept in all directions, and the chaotic energy shrouded the sky above the competition area. The violent aftershocks shook the heavens and the earth. Many of the guests in the audience raised their sleeves to cover their faces. In the northern pavilion, several experts from the dark troop of the Sacred Star Dynasty who were wearing masks suddenly appeared from the dark. Then they cast a layer of golden light net barrier, blocking the chaotic aftershocks from reaching the spectators stand at the pavilion. Rumble, extremely violent energy waves spread in all directions. Although they were shocked, no one shifted their gaze away, and they stared at the fighting platform in front of them. The golden sand rain and crystal clear water droplets fluttered in the air. The delicate and beautiful figure reappeared in everyone's line of sight. Humph! Qi Teng's face revealed a frivolous smile, and then the golden sand that spread in all directions quickly gathered into his body. In the blink of an eye, everyone's vision became clear again. Lu Qi then descended from the sky and stood dozens of meters in front of Qi Teng. Senior brother Qi Teng, thank you for your mercy. Lu Qi's smile was still innocent. Hey, Qi Teng sneered and said, why aren't you going down? Go down? Why should I go down? Lu Qi asked in confusion. Humph, it seems like you won't give up until you see your coffin. My golden sand has already entered your flesh. How can you continue to fight? Qi Teng's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. However, Lu Qi's eyes were wide open, and he looked like he didn't know anything. No, senior brother Qi Teng, look at me, aren't I fine? Lu Qi raised his jade-like left arm, and there was no impurities on his snow-white skin. He was actually fine. How was this possible? Not only was Qi Teng stunned, but the countless audience members were also confused. In the previous powerful attack, the golden sand was denser than the rainwater. Indeed, someone saw the golden sand melt into Lu Chi's body. Hey, Knight Not Strange of the Heaven Luo group smiled indifferently. How ignorant. Water can filter sand, and you don't even understand such a simple principle? His words woke everyone up from their dreams. Hua! The audience was instantly in an uproar. Only then did everyone remember that Lu Chi had the water soul mystic body bloodline boundary, and the characteristic of water was that there were no rules of shape. No matter how dense the sand was, the water could be filtered out. If it was an ordinary person, when Chi Tang's golden sand entered their body, it would almost be stuck to their flesh, and it would be extremely difficult to get it out. But for Lu Chi, who was an expert in controlling water, this was not a difficult problem. Although the audience did not know what method Lu Chi used to expel the golden sand from his body, the power of the water soul mystic body was there, and it would not be so easy for him to fall. Chi Tang's face darkened, and his eyes turned cold. Humph! I was careless this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. Maybe I have to say something embarrassing. Senior brother Chi Tang, it seems like you haven't realized that you have already lost. Lu Chi's big eyes moved slightly, and he said, mischievously, What did you say? Chi Tang frowned, and then the inner core in his body rotated, and he was about to release true essence to launch an attack. But in the next second, Chi Tang's face suddenly turned pale, and his eyes were wide open, full of disbelief. You! Chapter 302. I've already warned you that my water is poisonous. I told you to be careful, but you didn't listen. Don't blame me now. Lu Chi's voice was not loud, but when it reached everyone's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. What was going on? Was Chi Ting hit? Everyone present revealed a look of surprise. Even the giant rock monarch on the northern pavilion couldn't help but stand up from his seat. A faint smile appeared on the misty wind Lord's face. Evidently, in her opinion, the victory of this match was already firmly in her grasp. What's going on? Senior Chi Tang, what's wrong? Don't be fooled by her, Senior Chi Tang. The Rock King's team and the Rock King's team were all confused. Chi Ting had not been hit by Lu Chi since the beginning. However, Chi Tang's face was pale and his forehead was covered with sweat. His limbs were trembling uncontrollably. It was obvious that he was under great pressure. When did you do this? Chi Tang's eyes flashed with a blood-red light. His eyes were as gloomy as a wolf's. At this moment, he could clearly feel that there was a strange power flowing in his body. This power was like ice water, freezing his true origin energy and restricting the movement of his primal core. Lu Chi raised her eyebrows and smiled. It's in the sand that you just took back. What? Sand. All the people present were astonished. Yi Bugue, Huang Fu Liang, Qining Xiao, Chu Hen, and the other geniuses were also shocked. Chi Ting's eyes widened. You attached your power to the golden sand. That's right, but I don't have a reward for you. Lu Chi looked innocent, but anyone who saw the cute smile on her face could not help but feel a chill down their spine. She looked like an angel, but she was actually a witch. Indeed, Chi Ting had been carefully guarding against her from the beginning. Not even the slightest ripple released by the other party was able to touch it. When Chi Ting used his trump card, the golden sand demon sealing pagoda, he thought he could take down his opponent. Even if he couldn't kill Lu Chi in one strike, he would still be able to severely injure Lu Chi. After all, Chi Ting knew how strong the golden sand was. Even if Lu Chi managed to break through the golden sand demon sealing tower, she must have used up a lot of her true essence. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, Chi Ting was sure to win. However, Chi Ting didn't expect that Lu Chi would tamper with the golden sand. The golden sand was condensed by Chi Ting with the power of the bloodline boundary. In fact, he could not take it back, but if he did that, he would have to spend more physical strength and true yuan to condense more golden sand in the following battles. In order to preserve more strength for the upcoming battle, Qi Ting naturally took back the golden sand. But it was this small miscalculation that directly ruined the victory of the competition. At the same time, this battle made everyone shocked by Lu Qi again. To think that the other party was able to scheme to such an extent. When dealing with her, there was no way he could rely on luck. Bang! Qi Tang's body trembled violently. Then he knelt down on one knee. His momentum was gone. The strange power that had entered his body along with the golden sand kept eating away at his true yuan. He no longer had the strength to fight. A bitter smile appeared on Qi Tang's face. "I've lost. I've lost." These three simple words directly announced the end of the competition. The Misty Wind Empire's side erupted into cheers and applause. "Senior sister Lu Qi, you're amazing. We're optimistic that you'll win. Women are not inferior to men. Lu Qi is the strongest." Some people were happy, while others were worried. The Misty Wind Empire's side began to celebrate, but the Giant Rock Empire's side was like a pool of dead water. With Qi Tang's defeat, the Giant Rock Empire's team could be said to be eliminated after the Flame Shadow Empire's team. Although there were a few other geniuses in the core transformation realm who were at the 7th and 8th stage. Compared to Not Cunning, Huang Fuliang, and Qi Ningxiao, they had almost no hope of winning. "This woman is really scary. Third brother, if you encounter her, you must be careful," Long Qingyang said to Chu Hen, who was standing next to him. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed. He lightly let out a sigh of relief and nodded his head. In his opinion, Lu Qi's most frightening aspect was her control over her own power. Qi Tang did not realize that another power had entered his body even after he withdrew the golden sand into his body. This meant that Lu Qi was not only smart, but her methods were also very clever. Just like what people said, one should not be fooled by Lu Qi's innocent face. Otherwise, one would not even have time to cry. Looking at Qi Tang, who left unwillingly, the Giant Rock King on the North Pavilion sat back on his seat with a disappointed look in his eyes. To the other emperors, this was something to be happy about, especially the Flame Shadow Emperor. This was especially so for the Flame Shadow Monarch. At least he would not be lonely anymore. Haha, what an exciting competition. The disciple taught by His Majesty Misty Wind is indeed powerful. The Tian Luo Emperor smiled faintly as he clapped his hands together. The Giant Rock Emperor's face darkened as he glared coldly at the other party. He was annoyed. The Misty Wind Emperor raised an eyebrow and replied indifferently, "Thank you for your praise, Your Majesty. However, I believe that the person from the Tian Luo team is even more secretive, right? Just like you, Your Majesty." "Ha ha ha ha. Your Majesty Misty Wind really knows how to joke. Who can compare to the Sacred Star Empire when it comes to concealment? Don't you think so, Divine Empress?" The Tian Luo Emperor looked at the Divine Empress who was sitting next to Huang Fu Hao with a demonic gaze. The Divine Empress's eyes were calm. "Your Majesty Tian Luo must be joking. The Sacred Star Empire was able to win the Heaven List competition 2 times in a row because of luck and everyone's care." "Haha. Then let's see if the Sacred Star Empire still has such good luck." The conversation between the sovereigns was filled with sharpness and sharpness. At this moment, the changes in the Heaven List competition and the direction of the competition were enough to affect the emperor's emotions. The great empires that were already at odds with each other would naturally speak with a tinge of sarcasm. The competition continued. "What, junior sister Lu Qi, are you planning to fight continuously?" Qi Ningxiao of the Sword Dynasty spoke. Invisible sparks filled the arena. The situation on the stage had already entered a white-hot stage. Lu Qi shook her head and said, "If senior brother Qin goes up, then I'll go rest. If you don't come, then I'll continue to guard the stage." "Aren't you being shameless?" "The competition didn't say that I can't do that." Lu Qi had a "what can you do to me" expression. Qin Ningxiao sneered, "Since junior sister Lu Qi has said so, then as your senior brother, I naturally can't let you tire yourself out, right?" Let me help you take over this stage first. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a rapid wind-breaking sound rang in everyone's ears. In the next second, Qin Yingxiao had already disappeared from where he stood and appeared on the battle arena that was filled with scars. Seeing Qin Yingxiao appear, the noisy atmosphere in the audience became even more restless. You really came up? Lu Qi pouted and clapped her hands, saying, Then do your best. If the two of us enter the finals, remember to go easy on me. Looking at Lu Qi's innocent and cute smile, countless people in the audience cursed in their hearts, devil. However, after Lu Qi returned to the contestants' area to rest, Qin Yingxiao's palm moved, and with a sharp metallic sound, a sharp sword appeared in his hand. Before his opponent appeared, Qin Yingxiao had already unsheathed his sword. This was clearly an act of announcing that he was dominating the stage. Then, only the two of you have yet to make a move. Qin Yingxiao pointed his sword towards Huang Fuliang of the Saint Star group and Not Strange of the Heaven Luo group. A piercingly cold sword aura erupted. Who's first? Who's first? Arrogant and bold. Many of the geniuses in the audience were subdued by Qin Yingxiao's sword aura. At the same time, everyone's gaze fell on Huang Fuliang and Not Strange. Hee hee. Not Strange laughed. His handsome face had a hint of a devilish smile. The thing I hate the most in my life is people pointing their swords at me. Why didn't I go first? What do you think? Senior brother Huang Fuliang. His indifferent tone sounded like he was asking a question, but his voice did not have the slightest intention of seeking others' opinions. Huang Fuliang smiled indifferently and raised his right hand slightly, making a please gesture. Up to you. Not Strange had a playful smile on his face as he slowly walked onto the stage. Every time he took a step, the surrounding air would faintly tremble. An invisible pressure spread in all directions. This person is very strong. Bai Yue frowned as she said in a deep voice. Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang, and the rest also nodded in admiration. The latter continued, I'm afraid that Qin Yingxiao is going to kick an iron plate. After saying that, Long Qingyang looked at Chu Hen and couldn't help but wonder if Chu Hen would have a chance to meet Not Strange. If he did, then it would be better to persuade him to give up. Chapter 303. The arena was full of deep cracks. After a series of intense battles, Peng Ao from the Flame Shadow group and Qi Ting from the Giant Rock group were eliminated one after another. The competition was full of accidents, and many unforeseen events occurred one after another. At this moment, thousands of people were looking at the two people on the arena. Qin Yingxiao from the Sword Dynasty and Yibu Gui from the Tianluo Dynasty. The audience below the stage burst into an uproar. Yibu Gui will win. Qin Yingxiao, you can do it. The Tianluo Dynasty is the strongest. The Sword Dynasty is mighty. The audience cheered, but the two people on the arena remained unmoved. A frivolous smile hung on Yibu Gui's devilishly handsome face. He looked at Qin Yingxiao indifferently and said, You can make your move now. Humph. Qin Yingxiao held his sword and a bright light shone from its edge. Yibu Gui, don't be too arrogant. No. You're wrong. Yibu Gui smiled and shook his head. His brows were filled with calmness. I, Yibu Gui, am very strict with my opponents. As for you, you're not qualified to be my opponent. Not qualified. His words were full of contempt. The audience frowned. They couldn't find anyone who was more arrogant than Yibu Gui. In an instant, Qin Yingxiao's face became gloomy. A strong killing intent and surging sword aura burst out from his body and crushed towards his opponent. Yibu Gui, I hope you can still be so calm later. Swoosh. Before he finished speaking, Qin Yingxiao left a series of afterimages on the arena and appeared in front of Yibu Gui in the blink of an eye. However, Qin Yingxiao didn't rush to attack. Instead, he stopped a few meters away from his opponent. Buzz. There was a sharp sound in the air. Qin Yingxiao pointed his sword at Yibu Gui. A A sharp sword chi flew out of his sword and flew towards Yi Bugue with a murderous aura. Looking from afar, the sword energy seemed to be moving very slowly. It gave people the feeling that it was slowly drifting towards uncanny night. Even a 3-year-old child would be able to dodge it. However, in reality, the sword chi contained an extremely powerful and piercingly cold aura. The space between the two of them trembled violently. Immediately after, when the sword chi was about 3 to 4 meters away from Yi Bugue, it suddenly accelerated and shot up like a bolt of lightning. "Hey!" Yi Bugue raised his eyelids, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. Soon after, a domineering aura was released from his body. A pale, white halo bloomed from Yi Bugue's body. Bang! With a loud explosion, the sharp sword shadow was shattered less than a meter in front of Yi Bugue. Then Qi Ningxiao quickly waved the long sword in his hand, and with a swoosh, an illusory figure separated from his body. "What's that?" Everyone in the audience was shocked by his words. The illusory figure was exactly the same as Qi Ningxiao. He was also holding a sharp sword and exuded a powerful sword aura. What technique is this? Illusory sword technique. Qi Ningxiao's famous technique. Is that so? Then we have to observe it carefully. The separated illusory figure flashed to the left of Yi Bugue. Then, under the surprised gazes of the audience, another illusory figure separated from the left illusory figure. This illusory figure also exuded an extremely powerful aura and flashed to the area behind Yi Bugue. Before the audience could recover from their shock, another shadow broke away from the shadow behind Yi Bugue like a ghost. Then, with a speed that seemed to be able to teleport, it swept to the right side in the blink of an eye. Yi Bugue was surrounded by 4 Qi Ningxiaos in all directions. 1 original body, 3 illusory figures. They waved the long swords in their hands at the same time. The bright sword shadows crisscrossed and interweaved from all directions to form a large sword net that enveloped Yi Bugue. The magnificent swordsmanship was powerful and full of killing intent. Countless people in the audience were dazzled. It was difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. Is this the so-called illusory sword technique? Yi Bugue, who was trapped by the sword shadows from all directions, smiled contemptuously. He looked at Qi Ningxiao's original body in front of him with a playful look in his eyes. "Hey, don't be happy too early." Qi Ningxiao sneered. "My original body can change positions with the illusory figures at will." "Really? So what?" "Humph." Qi Ningxiao was annoyed that Yi Bugue looked down on him again and again. Immediately after, the 4 Qi Ningxiao burst out with a powerful sword chi at the same time. 4 sword nets came from 4 different directions and headed towards Yi Bugue in the center. Wherever the sword nets went, the space trembled. At the same time, a mighty pressure was released from Yi Bugue's body. A thick white fog suddenly spread out with Yi Bugue as the center. Yi Bugue's figure was directly submerged in the hazy fog. That is it the ghost fog technique? That's right. It's the secret technique of the Wind Ghost clan. Ghost fog technique? Below the stage, Chu Hen's gaze slightly congealed. Between his eyebrows, he could not help but become a bit more solemn. As soon as the thick fog appeared, the sharp sword chi released by Qi Ningxiao flew directly into the fog. However, it gave people the feeling that it had entered a quagmire, unable to cause even the slightest ripple. The fog could devour other powers? Many of the geniuses below the stage frowned with shock on their faces. "Humph. Do you think that I can't do anything to you if you hide in the fog?" Qi Ningxiao's eyes turned cold, and his eyes revealed a cold light that was as sharp as a sword. Then, without saying a word, he, along with the 3 phantoms, swept up an incomparably powerful and shocking sword momentum and charged towards the violent mist. The strange white fog quickly occupied the arena. In the blink of an eye, it covered an area that was dozens of meters long and wide. Qin Yingxiao and the three phantoms' vision was connected, which meant that there were 4 pairs of eyes looking for the target. Even if the target was hiding in the fog, as long as they were discovered, the 4 swords would attack together and kill the target in an instant. In the fog, sword light flashed and true energy surged. The audience stretched their necks and stood on tiptoe to watch. However, in just an instant, a bright and dazzling aurora suddenly shot out, and a sharp, wind-breaking sound pierced everyone's eardrums. Together with a shrill scream, a terrifying aura burst out from the fog like a torrent. The violent force caused the ground to crack open and form a deep ravine. Layers of rubble flew up and the ground shattered. Bang! In the next second, a battered figure covered in blood flew out of the mist. His aura was dispirited. He landed heavily on the stage, leaving a mark on the ground for more than 10 meters before he stopped. It's Qin Yingxiao. Oh my God, what happened? This sudden scene caused everyone present to be dumbfounded. What? The Sword Dynasty's emperor, who was in the northern pavilion, couldn't help but stand up from his seat. His eyebrows were furrowed like 2 dead silkworms, and his face was filled with disbelief. Everything happened too quickly. In less than 5 seconds, the imposing Qin Yingxiao flew out of the fog. What happened inside? How did Yi Bugui make his move? No one saw it clearly. Qin Yingxiao was lying on the ground. His purplish-red face was distorted. On his chest, there was a deep wound that stretched from his neck to his abdomen. Scarlet blood continuously flowed out and dyed the ground red. The entire competition area fell into an unprecedented silence. Buzz! The dense white mist quickly receded, and soon a handsome young man in red robes once again appeared in everyone's line of sight. However, compared to before, countless people were now looking at him with fear and respect in their eyes. You! Qin Yingxiao's eyes trembled as he looked at Yi Bugui, who was approaching him. He tried to reach out his hand to touch his sword. However, his arm was stepped on by a foot. Ah! Qin Yingxiao screamed in pain. Everyone in the audience felt their scalps go numb, and a chill ran down their spines. Yi Bugui smiled faintly. He looked at Qin Yingxiao calmly. The biggest mistake you made was pointing your sword at me. Qin Yingxiao's pupils shrank, and his face was filled with endless fear. Boom! In the next moment, accompanied by an incomparably heavy explosion, a powerful shockwave spread out on the stage. Under everyone's horrified gaze, Qin Yingxiao was once again sent flying. The sound of bones breaking could be heard clearly. Qin Yingxiao's eyes were about to pop out as he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Senior brother Yingxiao. The faces of a few geniuses from Sword Dynasty changed dramatically, and they quickly flew down to catch him. When the first person held Qin Yingxiao in his arms, a terrifying impact that was comparable to a mountain suddenly swept over. That person's body trembled violently. His sternum was about to crack, his internal organs were displaced, and scarlet blood gushed out from his mouth. The few people who followed after him were also shaken by the residual force from Qin Yingxiao's body, causing their blood to surge. Hiss! The audience sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Looking at the lifeless Qin Yingxiao and the injured geniuses of Sword Dynasty, countless people felt their hearts tremble. Just how strong was Yi Bugui? It was not an exaggeration to say that he defeated Qin Yingxiao in seconds. After a short period of dead silence, the guests of the Tianluo dynasty burst into thunderous cheers. Yi Bugui! This battle had shocked everyone.